Lisa. They did the stay last week until they had the hearing yesterday. Good morning, everybody. If you are joining me on Facebook and YouTube, please speak in the comments because I don't get to see you when you join unless you speak. Hello, Conchita. What's up, Angie? Hey, Penny GF. Yes, Sandy, it is early. What's up, Brandy? Hey, Fire Rider. Good to see you. What's up, CJ? Good to see you as well. Hey, Gemini and Callie. When does enough become enough? Well, we're about to see, aren't we? Good morning, Auntie Tinker. How is everyone? Dirty Bad Bloggers, good to see you. Good morning, BBQ. Hey, Katrina, Pie Slice, Michael, good to see you as well. Um, you like the early lives? Yeah, I'm going to be on early and for a while today. Hey, G Nana, because I have a one-on-one with one of my platinum subscribers at 2:30 today, and then I have therapy at 4:30. So yeah, so I'm going to be on early and then for a while. Good morning, Grammy. Hey, Deborah Wixie, Deborah Richardson, and Win Dixie. God, that kind of went together, didn't it? So again, if you are, hey, Denise Ford, good to see you. Grand Rising to you as well. Facebook is telling me that you are waiting on me. I don't even know what that means, to be honest. That's so weird. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it. So you're just going to listen, Casey Rich. No worries. Good morning, John. Hey, Tam Bam. How is everybody? What's up, Amy? Amy, every time I see you, I want to say good morning, Amy and Nora, as if Nora's watching. Hey, Obscured. Hey, Evelyn. How are you? Yeah, so hey Gabe the Babe. Hi, how are you? What's up, Cynthia? Good to see you as well. Yeah, Tracy, good. I'm glad. Hey, Candy Kiss. What's up, Nancy G? Kelly Johnson. Good morning, everyone. Brandy, I think I said hi to you. Good morning, AJ Stone. Well, great, Huff and Puff. I'm glad that you don't care. It's a good thing that you are not the person that runs the world or the person sitting in courts or any of those things, right? Yeah, I'm okay with that, right? Oh, gotcha, Amy. Hey, Susan, good to see you as well. Good morning. Yeah, hey, Mel Gray, Becky, good to see you as well. It's funny to me when people say things like, if you're illegal, I don't care what your face is. And the thing is, do you feel that way about your family members who commit crimes? Do you feel that way about your loved ones who are in a situation or who make a wrong decision and they are in court? Or do you hope that the judge has mercy and gives them leniency, right? Which one is it? Hey, Kim, good to see you as well. Good morning, Kendra. Good morning, James. I'm just wondering, right? Because it's very interesting to me when people take that stance. No, Segi, he did not, and I'm more than willing to discuss the difference between the two things with you. As I said, it's not just putting a face, but it's putting a face and facts to Trump's immigration actions. But that's not the only thing that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about a merger between Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel and the United States of America having a gold share. Hey, Larry, good to see you, and Carol W. and Allie Nicole. We're going to talk about that as well because it's important. We're also going to talk about some of the stuff with publicly owned lands that are incredibly important, some things that are also in this big, ugly bill that the Republicans are trying to push through. Hey, Farah. Hey, Tam Bam. Hey, Gio. Good to see you. Hey, Tom Banker. Because those things are also important. We have a lot of things that are hidden in this bill. And, like I said yesterday, you can't really talk about all of them because there are so many, but it's important to point out some of the most significant ones. And there are a lot of them, right? So, hey, Inspirations by Leslie Ann. Good to see you as well. So, yeah, Chef Ryan, I am early. I put a little note in Discord that I was going to be on early today, but running about until about the same time, right? So I'll still be going until about 2. But there's also more than that, Mel Gray. So we're going to talk about that piece of it and then some of the other wording, right? Good morning, Stephen. Good to see you as well. So I'm a little bit later than I intended to be because Dominic came out and said, hey, Tutu, when's breakfast time? And I said, I can throw you some biscuits in the oven right now. So had to take a time to do that too. Hey, Veronica, good to see you. What's up, St. Bart? Good to see you. Mrs. Henderson. Sharita, good to see you as well. So, all right. So, hey, Kaylin. So let me go ahead and just kind of level set for everybody. If you are new to this space, let me go ahead and tell you the way that we do things. What's up, SB Unique? So in here, what we do is I ask 4 things. I ask that you be respectful. I ask that you do not use slurs of any kind. I ask that you do not spam my chat. So in other words, if you want to say something, say it once or twice. Do not say the same thing 4, 5, and 6 times, or you will get muted and then booted from the live because you're just clogging up the space. So if you've got something you want to say, that's fine, but don't say it 5, 6, 7, 8 times, right? Because we want to have like actual, like meaningful dialogue. And then the next one is do not type in all caps, because all caps is reserved for my moderators, and all caps is also reserved for my folks that are vision impaired. So those are the 4 things. They're not hard. They are very simple. And since we are all adults, we should be able to act as if we have some sort of home training. And we can behave accordingly, right? So it's just that simple. Yeah, baby. Is it time? Give me 1 second, folks. And let me check on these biscuits for the boy. 1 sec. Let me take them out for him. I'm literally just walking over here, so you guys can probably still hear me. But I just want to make sure the kiddo can eat. Perfect timing. And so they're going to be really hot, bud. So you can grab it, you can throw your cheese on it, and you're ready to go. Okay? Just don't touch the pan because the pan is hot. And you have food. Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and dive right on in, folks. Thank you for the moderators. Again, listen. Hey, Fire Rider, good to see you. I do not mind having disagreements, right? What's up, Jen? Hey, Melinda, good to see you too. And Danielle, I don't mind having disagreements. You don't have to disagree with me to be here. What I am going to ask for you to do, though, is to disagree respectfully and to be able to have an engaging, respectful conversation. That's it. If you want to act like you are, I don't know, in 4th grade and you have no impulse control and you just kind of open your mouth and shit flies out, you will probably get muted or booted after a while, because I just don't entertain that nonsense for too long, right? Because I'm actually interested in talking to people that want to have meaningful conversations. So, hey, Catsmandu, if that's not you, this is not the space for you. There are plenty of other lives that will let you scream at each other and cuss each other out and call each other names. That is not this. So if that is what you are used to, please take yourself somewhere else. If not, we will help you. Okay. So I think that's just about it. And we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So I want to start this morning's live by playing a clip for you guys. TikTok, you know that I can't let you see the video, but this is her face that's up here. Facebook and YouTube, I'm going to share my screen with you. This is testimony. Good morning, Mary Esther. This is testimony that happened before the Senate Judiciary Committee. And it's really interesting to listen to it. User 265, if you would love to come up here and request to join the panel, feel free to do that, right? Other than that, I'm just going to ask you to kind of take a listen, and you may discover something that you did not previously know, right? And that's why I said we're going to put a face and facts to Trump's immigration actions. So I want to ask a couple of things from those of you all who are in here. Maybe you support what Trump is doing. Maybe you don't support what Trump is doing, right? But my question is, regardless whether you support it or not. Hey, good morning, Elizabeth and Gummy Nerd. Do you remember prior to the election and after the election, Donald Trump saying that with regard to this mass deportation, that he was going to be going after criminals, right? Hey, Zaraki, he was going to be going after criminals. He was going to be going after the worst of the worst. Yep, Dominic got his food. He was going to be going after the worst of the worst. He was going to be going after the criminals. He was going to be getting rid of the people that were hurting people. We heard a lot of talk about Laken Riley, right? And her unaliving and how, he was going to go after those criminals committing horrendous crimes and taking the lives of our folks. So do we all remember that? So I think that if you did not hear him say that, please put a 1 in the comments. Good morning, Shelley. If you didn't hear him say that, put a 1 in the comments, because if not, that's what I heard him say, right? That is what I heard him say. So, Gio, you didn't hear him say that? Okay. Well, I might be able to pull up some things and show them for you, right? So, all right. So let's keep going. Good morning, Honeygram. Good to see you as well, right? So, John, no worries. No worries. All right. So here we go. I'm going to play this testimony. It's a little bit more than 4 minutes long, I believe. And then we're going to discuss it. And then we're going to actually talk about law. because I think that that's something that a lot of people aren't familiar with. I have heard so many people that are Trump supporters saying, I just want them to come here the right way. And then when I ask Trump supporters what is the right way, they typically cannot tell me what the right way means. So if you are a Trump supporter, if you support these immigration actions that are being done by the Trump administration, I would love for you to join the panel and so that we can discuss it. Because I'd be interested to know what you believe to be the right way, what you believe to be the way to enter this country, because I think that that's a necessary part of this conversation. Good morning, Natalie. So I'm going to go ahead and play. I'm going to go ahead and play this clip first, and then we are going to discuss it. Okay. What's for dinner? Hit the little request button. Okay. Hit the blue and pink people down at the bottom, and then you can come on in. Okay. So give me a second, folks. I want to play this clip first, and then we're going to go from there. So again, this is testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee that I thought would be beneficial for people to hear, and then we're going to talk. Okay. Again, I ask only 4 things, folks. Be respectful. Don't use slurs. Don't spam the comments, and don't type in all caps, right? So if you want to be disrespectful or be an asshole, expect to get muted or booted from the live, right? Just act like an adult, folks. That's all you have to do. Like, try to be a person that your mother would be proud of. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh, hold on. I need to turn the volume on, don't I? All right, here we go.
I am a 19-year-old. My name is Jimena Arias Cristobal. I am a 19-year-old, a daughter, sister, and an avid runner. On May 5th, I was pulled over for allegedly turning right at a no turn on red sign. What began as a simple traffic stop quickly escalated. I was taken to Whitfield County Jail, where I stayed for 2 days. While I was there, I learned I was being transferred to Stewart Detention Center, where my father was already being held. Before I share what happened during my time in detention, I want to tell you a little bit about who I am. My parents and I came to the U.S. in 2010 when I was just 4 years old. For over 15 years, I've called this country and Georgia home. I grew up in Dalton and went through the public school system from kindergarten through high school graduation. I was an honors break us. I was held at Stewart for 2.5 weeks before being granted a minimum bond of $1,500, thanks to my incredible attorney, Dustin Baxter. My time there was short compared to others, but the emotional weight was unbearable. I witnessed mothers, daughters, and sisters suffer daily under cruel and unnecessary conditions. What's happening inside detention centers like Stewart is not just a legal issue, it is a human rights issue. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share my story, but my story is just one of many. Every day across this country, people, many who have lived here nearly their whole lives, are being detained without access to fair legal representation, without proper care, and without the basic dignity all people deserve. I am not just an immigrant. I am a human being. I am a Georgian, and I am an American without papers. I hope my story opens eyes and hearts to what really is happening, not just to me, but to thousands of others. No one should have to go through what I did. We need a system that reflects our values of justice, dignity, and due process. Instead of arrests and detentions and threats of deportation, wouldn't it be better if we had the chance to become legal American citizens? Thank you so much for listening, for caring, and for taking action.
Okay, so I want to talk about just a couple of things for you guys, right? And sorry, you guys, I think I hit a wrong button trying to move something, but okay, so let me just stop for just a moment, and I want to address a couple of things that are in the comments, okay? And I'm going to talk about a couple of them. And then what I'm going to say for, I don't know, probably the 5th time since I've been live, hey, Eugene, is that if you would like to discuss exactly what the legalities around immigration is, then we can do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the facts around immigration and what they actually mean and what they don't. If you are an individual that is like, I don't care if they're illegal, then go somewhere else and argue with someone. Okay? Because it actually does matter. So what people do not understand about people illegally entering the country, if you improperly enter the country, it is a civil penalty. It is not a criminal. It is not a criminal crime. It's not a crime. Okay. So I think that people need to understand that, right? So under 8 USC 1325, it actually tells you what it is and what it's not. So if you are not familiar with that law, I'm going to help you. Okay. No, it's not a criminal misdemeanor. It's not. It's a civil penalty. And I'm going to show it to you because I think that facts are important. And they are the things that everybody should know. Okay. So when we talk about 8 USC 1325, right? Let me just tell you what it is. So there are 3 things that are listed under A. So if you are familiar with the way that law works, the law works whereas you'll have like an overall theme, right? Which is improper entry by an alien. And then you will have A, B, sometimes under one of those, you'll have like B1, B2. It's just like normal outline points, right? And then there's C and so forth and so on. So I'm going to give you 4 different classifications that come underneath this code. And I'm going to share my screen with you guys so that you can see what I'm talking about. And I'm going to do the same for you guys over here. Okay. So again, what I'm going to ask you all to do is try and not, here's what would be helpful for some of you guys who clearly don't know the law. Now would be a great time to stop typing and listen, because you may discover information that you didn't know. And that is when we all benefit, right? We benefit when we learn information that we didn't know that gives us a different perspective on things. And so that's what we're doing, right? So if you want to understand how this process actually works, I would highly recommend just stop typing and listen and read what I'm about to put on the screen, right? So here's what we know. We know that you cannot type and listen well, or type and read at the same time, right? So let's just check it out. So I'm going to take down my screen and I'm going to flip my camera around. So this is the actual law. Let me wipe off my screen. For the person who said we don't care, then leave my live. That's what I would say to you. If you don't care, why are you here? So 8 USC code 1325, improper entry by alien, right? So if you look at A actually has 3 separate types of offenses. Did you all see that? So improper time or place, and then there's avoidance of examination or inspection, and then there's misrepresentation and concealment of facts. So there are different things under this one point. So under point A, there are 3 different things, right? So if you enter or attempt to enter the U.S. at any time or place other than as designated by immigration officers, or if you elude examination or inspection by immigration officers, or attempts to enter or obtains entry in the U.S. by a willfully false or misleading representation, or the willful concealment of a material fact, for the first commission of any such offense, be fined under Title 18 or imprisoned not more than 6 months, or both, or for subsequent commission of any offense, be fined under Title 18 or imprisoned not more than 2 years, or both. So it tells you these are all the things that could happen under A. And then B breaks it down and actually tells you what they are, right? So B, improper time or place, right? That's the civil penalties. So it's whoever is apprehending while entering or attempting to enter the U.S. at a time or place other than as designated shall be subject to a civil penalty of at least $50 and not more than $250 for each such entry or attempted entry. 2, twice the amount specified in 1 in the case of someone who has been previously subject to a civil penalty under this section. So if you do it once and you get this civil penalty, the next time you'll get this same second penalty. Do you see that? Civil penalties under this section are in addition to and not in lieu of, right, that may be imposed. So this is a civil penalty. It is not a, so maybe this will help. Maybe this will help. So you know the way that Donald Trump went to court in New York, and he was falsifying business records, right? And that was a civil penalty, and he was convicted, and he owes $500 million to the state of New York, right? It's a civil penalty, right? It's a crime, but it's not a violent crime or anything like that, right? So by the same definition that you all are referring to people who entered this country as illegals, we could say the same thing about Donald Trump, because they both committed an act that is illegal, right? They have both been found guilty of a civil penalty, right? And that type of thing. So the second one is about marriage fraud, which is completely different, right? And then the third one is immigration-related entrepreneurship fraud. So most of the time, people aren't talking about these 2 things. We're talking about this thing, right? And so that's something that makes a difference, right? Hawk, they're found liable, right? And so under 1325, we don't have people that are imprisoned, right? What we have is people that are given a court date, they're given a fine, and then they are asked to show up in return for that court date. And that is typically what happens at the border when people are encountered. So that's another thing that is really important for people to understand about what actually happens at the border. Because when we talk about encounters, okay, encounters does not mean the number of people that have come into the country. Encounters also does not mean separate people, okay? So, right, and deportation is a civil matter, correct. So let me just go ahead and share this with you guys, all right? So when we talk about encounters at the border, if you see a number, good morning, Sandra, if you see a number that says we've had 1 million encounters or 1.3 million encounters, which is about what we saw under Donald Trump in 2019, right? If you see those types of numbers, that does not mean that Donald Trump let 1.3 or 1.4 million people into the country. That's not what it means. The same way that it doesn't mean that Joe Biden let 2.3 million people into the country. High numbers of encounters could actually be a really good thing, and I'll tell you why. What that means is we are actually encountering those people. You hear me? We are actually encountering them. We are giving them their court date, and they are staying. They are not allowed into the country, and then they show up for that court date. Do you follow me? So I want people to understand that if you don't have high encounter numbers, there is a reasonable argument that could be made that you're not encountering them. So more people are entering the country and they are gotaways because you didn't encounter them. Right? So I want you all to just try that on for size. Okay. So hear what I'm saying to you. So if, let's just say, okay, let me pull this up and let me show you. Yep, you can have many encounters for the same person, Hawaiian gentleman. Yes. So it also doesn't account for repeat offenders. It's another encounter. So it could be the same person that's being encountered 3 or 4 times. What we know also is that, like, for example, under the remain in Mexico policy under Trump, we actually had a recidivism rate, which is a repeat rate, that increased. I think it was about 15%, but I can look it up for you. Okay. So let me show you what it looks like when we talk about the numbers. And what I'm going to do right now, I am going to show you the actual numbers on the Customs and Border Patrol website. Okay. So let's do that for just a minute. Okay. I am going to do Southwest. I want to make sure that I'm looking at the right one. Is this the data portal that I want? I do. Give me 1 second, guys, because I go to Southern Border. Give me 1 second. I always go to Customs and Border Patrol's website because that way we're looking at the same numbers. Okay. All right. Perfect. So I'm going to make this a little bigger and then we're going to walk through it. Again, for those of you all in the chat who disagree with me or think whatever you think, what I'm going to say to you is, thanks, Tequila, is feel free to join the panel and then we can go over it. Okay. Yep. The boss early bird today. I got a full day ahead of me. So I would like to have all of the years. I need to go back 1 more year. Give me a second, guys. Can I do, I'm going to reset the filters. 1 second, guys. Fiscal year. That is what I want. Okay, so this one's only going to give me those. Encounters, and I'm going to do 2017 through 2022. It should be able to give me those. Perfect. Yay. Look at that. Okay, we got it. So I'm going to open this and see if it gives me what I want. Or yes. Yay. It does. Okay, I love this. Okay, so let me show you guys. Good morning, Gentle H2O. I love it when I ask the computer for what I want and it gives it to me. So let me show you all this. Okay, so I want you guys, especially, hey, MD Brock, those of you all that are Trump supporters, to just listen to what I'm saying, okay, and see if this makes sense, because I want to show you a change in Trump's numbers and what happens. So watch. So this is when we talk about total CBP enforcement actions. And so this is for the southern border. So fiscal year 2017, fiscal years run from the October to the September. Okay. So for fiscal year 2017, it would be from the end of 2016, which would have been a little bit of Barack Obama, all the way through September of 2017, which would have been Trump's first year as president. Okay. And so what I want you to see is that in fiscal year 2017, we only had 526,000, almost 527,000 total encounters. The very next year, that increased to 683,000. And then Donald Trump's third year in office, it increased to 1.1 million. So let me just say this to you all. If in fact what Trump was doing at the border was working so great, why, after he was in office for 2 years, did his numbers double? Because according to you, low numbers are better, right? You all think that high numbers are worse because Joe Biden had high numbers, right? So you think high numbers are worse, right? But tell me then, and we can't use this because this is COVID, right? This is C-19. But tell me why, after 2 years, Trump's numbers increased. They doubled after 2 years. If you believe that low numbers are better, can you explain to me why Donald Trump's numbers more than doubled after his first 2 years in office? Because you would think that after 2 years, his numbers would be getting better, not worse. Unless, of course, higher numbers are better, because the higher numbers mean you're actually encountering the people that are trying to get into the country and they're not getting into the country. You're encountering them, you're giving them court dates, and they're not getting in. Imagine that, right? Now, one of the reasons why we know that there was an increase in 2019 is because of something called Operation Stone Garden. Now, if you are not familiar with Operation Stone Garden, please put a 1 in the chat. If you are not familiar with Operation Stone Garden, please put a 1 in the chat. Perfect. I'm going to talk to you about it real quick, and I'm going to give you some information, okay? And hopefully this will be helpful to you, all right? So let me show you all. I love the fact that a lot of people aren't familiar with it. Yay, that means we are discovering new information. That's what it means. And so this is great because it's helpful to all of us. So what I'm going to do is look up Operation Stone Garden for you. And I'm actually going to look up the investigation, money spent, 2018, 2019. So Operation Stone Garden is a grant. And there were funds that were allocated to law enforcement agencies for securing the border. So let me show you. And there's a congressional piece of it, and then there's an AI overview. I'm not a fan of AI, but it's okay just to give you like a foundational explanation of it. So this is what Operation Stone Garden looks like. And then we'll actually go into the congressional document. Okay. Whoops. I actually let I clicked something. Okay, cool. So let me show you what this is. All right. So Operation Stone Garden, there was information about money spent on Operation Stone Garden investigations in 2018 and 2019 because there were funds that were allocated and dispersed to eligible law enforcement agencies rather than on specific investigation expenditures. So there was an allocated $185 million, and in fiscal year 2019, it was $90 million. And the problem is that for the first time when this money was allocated, it wasn't used appropriately, what it was supposed to do. And so if you go to like the National Immigration Forum, or if you go to the congressional website, you will see, and this one's going to be the new one. See how it increased to $110 million annually, right? But you can go to a fact sheet. And so what we know is that Operation Stone Garden was a federal grant program administered by FEMA, which is a component of the Department of Homeland Security. And this is why some people got confused. When people thought that FEMA was giving money to immigrants or Border Patrol and it was taking away from efforts, what they didn't understand is that FEMA is under the heading of the Department of Homeland Security, and it has different buckets of money under the Department of Homeland Security. So FEMA has a bucket for disaster relief. FEMA has a bucket for border. FEMA has a bucket for all these different things, okay? And so what happened is what we found is that this money it was a 64% increase from fiscal year 2015, right? Because it was only 55 million. And what happened is that this money was not being allocated to hire more Border Patrol agents and to do more of the things that they were supposed to be doing at the border, which is why what you saw for the first couple of years under the Trump administration is that, whoop, did it go back? Hold on. I bet you I hit the wrong button. Sorry, guys. I hate it when I do that. These are the numbers. Thank you. Open, please. No, I won't give feedback. Why did the numbers just go away? Oh, are they down here? Yeah, there they are. Okay, so listen. So this is why in fiscal year in 2019, Donald Trump's numbers went up, because Congress did an investigation into the money that was allocated for Stone Garden, Operation Stone Garden, and said, hey, you guys aren't spending this money the way you're supposed to be spending it. We need to bring in more Border Patrol officers. We need to actually be beefing up the border. And so guess what? That's what they started doing. And so that is why you actually saw these numbers go up, right? And so this is important for people to know and to understand. After C-19, we knew for a fact we were going to have an increase in encounters at the border because we had implemented something called Title 42. Title 42 is not normal in immigration law. Title 8 is our normal immigration law. Title 42 is just an emergency health directive, right? And that's the one that said nobody can come because we're in the middle of a global pandemic. So that is what Title 42 is. So it's important for us to understand that encounters does not mean entries into the country, first of all, right? High numbers of encounters means that we are most likely catching more people than are not being caught, okay? And so that's actually a good thing. It tells us we are being more proactive. We are doing what we want to do. So the first thing that I will ask is that helpful for you all to know? Is all of that helpful to some degree? Does it give you some working knowledge that maybe you didn't have before? Yes, great. All right. So, so the next piece of this that, and if you really want to look at all of this, I actually there are other programs. I'm just talking about that one for right now, DeBoss. I can't just pour everything on everybody all at once, right? But it's important for us to know that, and to kind of understand those types of things. All right. Let me take a drink of water because I'm talking a lot. So far, what we've been able to understand is that improperly entering the country is a civil penalty, right? Under 8 USC 1325. Under 8 USC 1326, it can be a felony or it's just double. It just depends upon their discretion about how they utilize it. And most of the time, guys, nobody is criminalizing unless it's somebody that is a criminal. Other things that people should understand is that immigration is something that all countries are concerned with. And Mexico has been working with us about immigration, which is why you do not see big caravans of people coming into the country or coming to the border like you did, I don't know, 10 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever it is, right? You don't see that anymore because of cooperation that has been existing between the countries. Now, I want to show you something else. How many of you all heard Vice President Harris referred to as the border czar? How many of you all heard her being referred to as the border czar? All right, so let's talk about that. April 14th, 2021. There we go. All right, so now I want to show you something. This is where I get very frustrated with the media and their willingness to lead with whatever sells and with whatever gets the most clicks. So can I ask you all, how many of you all have never heard of, right, Hawaiian gentleman, but even without bringing up Mike Pence, watch this. So let me ask you all this. How many of you all are aware of or have never heard of, if you have never heard of the American Presidency Project, if you've never heard of the American Presidency Project, please put a 1 in the comments. If you've never heard of the American Presidency Project, put a 1 up. Great. Yay, we're going to learn about something new. I love this. Okay, so check this out. So the American Presidency Project is something that UC Santa Barbara has been doing for decades now. And what's amazing about this is they have been documenting the press pools and the events of every president and vice president for a very long time now. Why is that important? Because you can actually go back and read the press pool notes from specific dates. Yeah, Michael DeBoss, I told you guys about this. So I want to show you all this. So you all remember when everybody said that Kamala Harris is the border czar, and we heard this a lot in 2024, did we not? Leading up to the election, everybody said she was the border czar. She was supposed to end immigration. She was supposed to keep people from coming here. That's what she was supposed to do. And then they called everybody a liar who said she was supposed to be focusing on root causes. Do you all remember that? This was just last year. They said she wasn't supposed to be focused on no root causes. That's a Democratic lie. How many of you all heard them call it a Democratic lie? Because I did. I heard it repeatedly, right? So now I'm going to actually show you what the truth is. You want some truth? I love truth. I love facts. So watch this. Remember, we heard all of that in 2024, right? Watch what happened in 2021. So this is a beautiful thing. So this is the American Presidency Project. This is the Vice President Pool reports for April 14th of 2021. So this is 3 years before the election and her being called the border czar. Here's where it gets great. So it says, good morning from the North Lawn. Pool is gathering ahead of Vice President Harris's virtual meeting with outside national security experts on immigration and the Northern Triangle per her published schedule. So this is a published schedule that all of the media knew about. It says the pool will be in the room for the VP's opening remarks, a brief spray at the top of the meeting, and they will send along attendees and color once they're provided. So here's the background on the attendees. So it says Vice President's office passed along some background information and a list of meeting attendees in her role overseeing diplomacy towards Mexico and the Northern Triangle nations. Vice President Harris will lead a virtual roundtable with experts who will offer assessments and recommendations for the region. Issues likely to be covered include the root causes of migration, humanitarian assistance, economic development, climate resiliency, transparency, and good governance. Participants include these individuals who are experts in those areas. So we knew, and the press knew in 2021, that she was going to be addressing the root causes of immigration with experts in these countries to help slow immigration, not temporarily, but forever. Because let me just make sure that we understand something, folks. If all we do is say you can't come in, that doesn't keep people from trying to get here, right? It doesn't keep, because why do people try to get here? What drives people to come here? People try to come here because they have unstable governments. People try to come here because they have extreme poverty, or they have persecution because of all of those things, right? Stacy, we have push-pull factors. That's what we have, right? So push factors. What are the things that push people here? Poverty, persecution, unstable governments, violence, like all of those types of things, right? That's what pushes people here. So this is what people need to understand. So we knew that this is how it works. Bradley, that's not accurate. And I'll talk about that for you as well. And if you want to come discuss it with me, you can come here. Thelma, asylum is actually a little bit different, and we can talk about that as well. Okay. So If you go all the way down here, you will see that this is the discussion about the core causes. Look at this. Vice President said she was looking forward to today's discussion, focusing on the core causes of migration. Her work is informed by basic principles and beliefs that most people don't want to leave their homes where they have family and are familiar with their culture and language, because they don't, right? There's all of these things that she's talking about. Now, what came of this? What came of this work? Well, here's what we know. By the time that we got to December of 2023, we actually had them, for the first time in a long time, the majority of the people that were trying to come to this country weren't coming from the Northern Triangle. In Guatemala, one of the things that she was able to do was work with Guatemalan prosecutors to keep them from overthrowing the election, right? That was a big deal because that maintained stability in the country. One of the other things that she was able to do was work with companies and investors around the globe and get them to invest about $5 billion into the Northern Triangle area, which would help rehabilitate that area, allow people to make money, to support their families right where they live. Again, root causes. Now, what's the whole thing that what's the point that I'm making here? The point that I'm making is that she was never the quote unquote border czar, and she was never supposed to end immigration to this country. And number three, the press knew it all of last year when they kept publishing headlines about her being a border czar and root causes being a Democratic lie. That's the point. Now, listen, if you're somebody who believed that, right, you should be angry because people who knew the truth lied to you on purpose. So if you are someone who believed what the media said, if you are someone who believed that Kamala Harris was the border czar, right, you should be pissed because these pool notes were out and available since 2021. Yeah, yes, Hawk, correct. So again, I just showed you all the actual, well, you know, we knew that, right? Is that page available in other languages? I honestly don't know. I don't know, to be honest. But you can go to poll reports and you can look them up for lots of different presidents. Yeah, Mama Dukes, I am today. So again, this is the part that is really important for people to understand. You were absolutely lied to, and the press knew it. So instead of being mad at Democrats or being mad at Joe Biden or being mad at the press, right? I think it would be important for you all not to be mad at Biden or Kamala Harris, but to be mad at the press, right? So Dave Random Man, look, it's very simple. I'm showing you the document straight off the bat that was her job. Her job was to address the root causes in the Northern Triangle, period. Right? That's what her job was, period. And we knew that. The press knew that as of 2021. These are her press pool reports, sir. So that was the job. Okay. So if you are not, so let me just say this about you all. Okay. If you look at the screen, if you all look at this screen that I'm showing you, and I'm literally showing you, because I could pull up poll reports from Trump and Vance as well, right? This is an American presidency project that goes back for a long time. They have a whole media archive. But listen, if you watch this and you still are like, no, it's Joe Biden, let me just say this to you. You really might want to ask yourself why you are resistant to facts. Good morning, Doug, right? you might want to ask yourself why you have a hard time with facts. Now, folks, I'm going to go ahead and bring somebody up to the panel that has requested up. Here's what I'm going to say to you. When I bring you up to the panel, this is what's important. You need to stay on mute until I get to you. Okay. And then once I bring you up, remember that there are 4 guidelines that I have for these types of conversations. 1 is to be respectful. 2 is to not use slurs. 3, for you guys that are down there in the comments, is don't spam my comments. And number 4, do not type in all caps. So as long as you can do those 4 things, we can have a respectful conversation and an intelligent one, right? So when I bring you up here, just remember those 4 guidelines, okay? Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, Michael. What you got for me?
I heard you were talking about wait, hold on real quick.
Sure. Good morning, Bronze. Good morning, Michaela. He asked me to hold on for a second, guys. He had to do something real quick. Give him a second. Oh, thanks, Jesse. Appreciate that. Who creates the press pull notes? The press. Oh, I don't know where Michael went. He left. Okay. All right. Change. Good morning. What you got for me? Good morning, Brian. Change is going to come. Did you mean to request up or no? Oh, you didn't mean to? No worries. Okay. I'll drop you down. Michael, I don't know what happened to you. You dropped. So, okay. If you want to come back up, Michael, let me know. And whoever the little Dan man is, you have a lot to say in the comments. If you would like to join the panel, then let's do that. Okay. All right. So, the press is who puts together the press pull notes. And this is a project specifically by UC Santa Barbara. And like I said, this goes back to, pull report. So can I show you guys this? I have not been invited, Michaela. I don't know anything about it. So let me just show you guys this real quick. And let me do this over here as well so that you guys can see it. I just want everybody to understand when I'm talking about these press pull reports, that it is something that is an entire project regardless of who is in the office. Okay. So if I'm going here and I just clicked on pull reports. So look, there's over 3,000 of them, and see how they go back for days upon days upon days. And like, I could do this for, let's just do June 8th. I just picked one. And so it's going to show you Donald Trump. Out of town report, checking in. Happy Sunday. Pool is rolling to Trump National Golf Club, Bedminster, to be swept. Same drill as yesterday. We'll be holding there for a bit until POTUS is scheduled to depart Bedminster for Morristown Municipal Airport. Schedule for today is posted below, and POTUS golfed 18 holes earlier this morning, according to the White House. And then here's the travel plans for that day, right? And so this is an out of town pool report based on what's happening for that day. And so this is what's really great about this. So Air Force One was wheels down in Hagerstown at 4:49 p.m. after an uneventful ride. Quick note, your pool spotted Boris Epstein on board. And it said hat tip to co-pooler Jonathan Swan. Gaggle notes and transcript below, because you all know that when they go, listen, there's a press pool that is allowed to travel with the president and with the vice president, right? And so in the gaggle, POTUS would not say what was happening this evening at Camp David, but noted the privacy guarantees there, and that he'd be meeting with military leaders. He also said he, quote unquote, can't say when asked about whether foreign visitors would be attending. The transcript below is in order. And so this is what he said, right? So Camp David bid a few questions. He also fielded several questions on Los Angeles. Somebody asked, will he invoke the Insurrection Act? His answer was, depends on whether or not there's an insurrection. Another question was, do you believe there is? The answer was no, but you've got violent people and we're not going to let them get away with it. Then another question on Dems and immigration and whether they'll be able to win a national election with their messaging. His answer was, I think you're going to see some very strong law and order. So y'all, this is literally what is happening with the press pool every single day. And they travel with them. So this is the press pool notes are put in here every single day. So like this one says, how would you define insurrection? He says, you really just have to look at the site. You have to see what's happening. Last night in Los Angeles, we watched it very closely. There was a lot of violence. There was a lot of violence and it could have gotten much worse. You have an incompetent governor. Just look at the train stations, 20 times over budget. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. I did call him the other night. I said, look, take care of this. Otherwise, I'm sending in the troops, right? So this is literally from the 8th of June, right? And so this is what's really important. So when you go when you go to pull reports, right, you can actually go and just scroll down through them and you can pick them, right? And it will go back days at a time, right? And then they actually have archives. You can pick up presidents, right? So if I do Clinton, here's Clinton, and then it gives you related documents, and then there's a library, and then like these are different things. So do you see what I'm saying? This is a whole project that the organization is doing, okay? That the university is doing. So this is just a way for you to know actually what is or what isn't happening and when we did know. And my biggest thing in showing you all that is to let you understand that last year, before one of the most important elections of our lifetime, right? If you just type in Thelma, if you just look up the American Presidency Project, you'll get there. It's being done by UC Santa Barbara, right? But my point behind showing you all that is to understand that the media knew exactly what Kamala Harris's role in immigration was. And yet, all the way up until the election last year, they kept using borders all. Trump says it's a Democratic lie, instead of just saying these are the facts. And that is what journalism and that is what journalists with integrity are supposed to do. They're supposed to say, this is what this group of people is saying. This is what these people are saying. And these are the facts. And here's how you can find those facts. That is what real journalists do. And the thing that gets me irritated with the media today is that they're not doing that. All they're doing is saying this side said this and this side said that. And then there's no actual facts about what each side is saying being presented to the people. And I'm giving you this really important example of that very thing leading up to last year's election. Okay. So when I can't tell you if this is why he's doing a particular thing. Like, I don't know, when we say, is this why somebody is doing this, right? Knowing someone's intent is really difficult. Like in court cases, they will tell you that, establishing intent and the why or the motive behind something is one of the most difficult things to do in court cases. So I can't tell you why he's going after a particular thing, right? What I can tell you is if he's going after a particular thing and what the potential benefits of going after that particular thing might be, right? And so those are the things that get really important as we look at what's happening. And so for me, I don't need to know the why. So what's more important than why he's doing something is what would the outcome of this thing be? I don't have to know why he thinks he's doing it. What I need to know is what is the actual impact if he achieves the things he's trying to do. That's what I need to know. And that's not just for Donald Trump. That's for anybody. That's for absolutely anybody. What is the potential impact? And so that is where you go and you actually look for the facts and you want to get the information, right? So those are the things that are really, really important. It's not just how it will affect me. No, it's how it will affect anyone, everyone. And the reason why I say that to you is because we are literally all connected, folks. I know that people like to think. I heard so many people go up leading up to the election say, "Oh, I'm voting with my wallet. I'm voting for me and mine." The reality is there's no such thing as a me and mine. Unless you are in the top 1% of this country, we are an us. Those are the only people that can afford to do that. Literally afford to do that. Okay. So when you all say whatever, I'm just telling you, it just isn't a thing. Okay. So I just want to throw that out there for everyone so that you all understand that. Okay. When you say, "Oh, I'm voting for me and mine," yeah, no, that's not how it works. Because you and yours touch everyone else in some form or fashion and in some way. And so that is oftentimes why I tell people you really do have to pay attention to wording and how things are said, because wording is everything when it comes to the law, right? Well, no, totally love. You are connected to them, whether you like it or not. What you do impacts them, and what they do impacts you. Yeah, just saying. I'm just saying. You can say, "Oh, I'm not connected with Trump and his group goons," but you are, and they are connected to you. Eventually, we all touch each other. There's a ripple effect. Period. So, all right. So let me keep going. So one of the things that I wanted to touch on, because you heard in Hamina's testimony, you heard her say that Stewart Detention Center was known for its mistreatment of immigrants. So, hey, Totally Love, please do me a favor. Well, let me ask you a question. Totally Love, do you suffer from any sort of vision impairment? Give me a second, guys. I'm going to go over really quickly again. I ask folks to be respectful. I ask you to not use slurs. I ask you to not spam the comments, and I ask you to not type in all caps, because it is reserved for moderators and for my folks that are vision impaired. Okay. All right. So I want to talk really quickly. Again, so you've been asked 3 times now, Totally Love, not to type in all caps. So please don't do that. I don't want to have to mute you for this live. That's it. Yes, I did, Dirty Bad Bloggers. We talked about it yesterday. I was live when that decision came out. I was live yesterday when that came out. All right. So let me go ahead. I want to share this particular thing too. So give me a second. Probably not. And that's okay. The mods will get them in just a second, boss legs. All right. So I'm going to give you. Let me see. Okay. So there was the Department of Homeland Security did an unannounced inspection of the Stewart Detention Center that she spoke about in her testimony. And I want to share with you all what they found so that we can, again, context is important, right? Which you all would agree that with that, context is important. And so I want to give you all this bit of information as well. And we're not going to go through the whole report. What I will do is put it in my link tree when I'm done so that you all can read it on your own. Okay. But this is when the Department of Homeland Security in July of 2023, they did an unannounced inspection of the Stewart Detention Center in Lumpkin, Georgia. And here's what they found. It says, during our unannounced inspection of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Stewart Detention Center in Lumpkin, Georgia, we found that Stewart complied with standards for the voluntary work program, law libraries, and legal materials and facility conditions. However, Stewart did not meet all standards for special management units, custody classification, grievances, staff detainee communication, medical care, which compromised the health, safety, and rights of the detainees. Specifically, Stewart inappropriately and repeatedly disciplined detainees who should have been placed in administrative segregation. We also observed issues with classification, including commingling of high and low custody detainees. The grievance and the staff detainee communication programs at Stewart were both deficient. For example, ICE did not always visit detainee housing units according to the schedule provided by provided to detainees. We also found that the Stewart Medical Unit was not appropriately conducting quote unquote sick call for routine medical requests and was not complying with some medical care standards. Finally, ICE paid for unused bed space because its population did not meet the guaranteed minimum outlined in the contract with Stewart. Another report on this very thing. So it goes in, so you can see that it's a long report, right? But what I will also show you is this other piece. Give me 1 second. I need to pull this over. And I need to stop sharing here. And I need to share over here. Well, am I doing the right one? Oh, I brought the wrong one over. That's her testimony. This is what I want. So this is a report. So for those of you all who do not know, the AJC out of Atlanta, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, is one of the leading media outlets there that tends to be spot on with the things that they say. The AJC does. And you rebuke me in the name of Jesus. Girl, bye. Girl, bye. Oh, low. I can't with you. Okay, anyway, y'all, that was really typed into the chat on TikTok. I rebuke you, host, in the name of Jesus. Rebuke me where? Like, what in the world? So anyway, hilarious. Federal investigation documents quote unquote barbaric conditions in ICE facilities. So this is something that came out. NPR did it, and this is also in 2023, right? So during a visit to the biggest immigration jail in Georgia, a federal investigator found a clinic that was quote unquote among the dirtiest medical spaces I have ever seen in a U.S. detention facility. At another Georgia facility holding ICE detainees, a nurse ignored an asthma patient's request to urgently see a doctor over concerns with his inhaler. The nurse recorded that the detainee was, quote unquote, was seen in sick call, even though that wasn't true. In Atlanta, an immigrant detainee unalived after failing to receive adequate medication to treat his diabetes and blood pressure, right? These were among the findings documented in inspection reports commissioned by the Department of Homeland Security's Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, which were obtained by NPR and then published earlier this week. Of the 26 facilities inspected in a 3-year span during the Trump administration, 3 were located in Georgia. Nationwide experts found a range of violations, including racial discrimination of detainees, retaliation, quote unquote, barbaric treatment of a mentally ill migrant, and instances of negligence that put lives at risk. So why am I sharing this? Because when Hamina testified, she told you that she was kept at Stewart Detention Center for 2.5 weeks. She told you that it was life-changing for her. She told you that this facility was known for its care. Yeah, Denise. And how they treat immigrants, right? She shared that with you. And my point is this. This is a child who is 19, right? This is a child that is 19 years old, who played sports, who was an honor student, who is going to school, who has done nothing wrong her entire life. And even if you wanted her to be deported, is it necessary to traumatize her at the same time? Do you not care if she is traumatized at the same time? And if you do not care, why? Why is it that you do not care? Is it just because she's quote unquote illegal? And the reason why I ask that is there are plenty of people who do things in this country that are illegal, and people manage to find compassion for them. I want you all to think about something. There are women who were able to have compassion for Charles Manson. They wanted to get married. There are women who found compassion for Ted Bundy. Right? So I'm asking you, if you do not have compassion for Jimena, who has never done anything wrong in her life, who is literally a teenager, her only crime was being brought here at the age of 4 years old and living the best life possible, playing sports, being an honor student, going to college. Her only crime was being a child. And my question to you is, if you do not have compassion for her, why? I really, truly would love to know an answer to that. If you don't have compassion for her, I would love for you to join the panel so that we can have a conversation about it. Right? Because that is the underlying issue. I want everybody to understand this. Thank you, Sandy. I want you all to understand this, okay? Until we get to the bottom of why we are willing to be this way with each other, we will not be able to solve our issues as a society or as a country. These are the root causes, right? These are the root causes. And that's what I'm interested in more than anything. So for me, the way that I approach what's happening right now in the country is with a multi-pronged approach. So I think that there must be a short-term strategy that that rectifies the things that we are experiencing right now, as quickly as possible, right? But I also believe that at the same time, there must be a parallel movement that is getting to the core issues of why we are showing up this way with each other. Hey, Rosalind, good morning. Like that's what I believe, right? And I believe that because what I know is if all you do, let me give you an example. If the only thing that happens right now is people get pissed at Donald Trump, even Republicans, because many Republicans are upset about this thing with Iran, in case you did not know. And even if that happens, and even if, the pendulum swings the opposite way and Dems get control and all of that, all that happens is 2 to 4 years later, it swings back the other way. And we just ride this crazy ass roller coaster back and forth of extremes. And then we suffer and our children suffer. So for me, what I would like to do is get to the root causes, to the core issues that are having us show up this way with each other. Even the people who come up here and are intentionally being disruptive, who are intentionally repeating things that they know aren't true, which I know people that do that, right? My question would be why? Good morning, Ryan, right? You don't know of any Republicans upset with Trump about Iran? I do, Scott Harmon. I know quite a few. And even prominent ones. Because this is something that, isn't supposed to be happening. Hell, Tucker Carlson just came out with an entire newsletter about this, upset with Trump. So If you don't know of any, it's because you don't want to know of any, right? And, selective hearing and selective awareness is your choice, right? If you choose to just not know something, then you just choose to not know something, right? So it's kind of whatever you want to be and do for you, right? So the reality is this, okay? Good morning, Scott. We have to get to the point where we figure out exactly what is going on. Harlow, I don't do conspiracy theories. I really don't. Do I understand that there are global things taking place? Of course I do, right? Of course I do. What I also know is that there's nothing showy about this. What you refer to as a global show is actually G-side, the unaliving of innocent people, children and innocent people starving in Palestine and other countries, right? I want people to understand exactly what the deal is. So get wrecked story. Okay, so what I think, no, I don't hide and watch. That's not my thing. I don't hide and watch, user Harlow. I don't hide and watch. Okay. I like to be informed and educated. And if you all don't know, so let me ask you this, Harlow. What do you think? Why do you think that is? And who do you think is behind getting us to separate from Israel? Tell me that. Tell me who you believe that is. Yes, I know, spiritually sexy. I know. That's what I want to know. Tell me, user Harlow. I'm asking. Does anybody want to? Are they gone? Because let me just be very clear about something. So let me ask you all this question. What is the name of the organization that is primarily directing the actions of the Trump administration and is responsible for the policies that are being put in place currently? What is the name of that organization that is responsible for this current administration and the policies that they are putting in place? Heritage, right? Heritage Foundation, all day long, right? Heritage Foundation. That's who wrote Project 2025, folks, right? Hey, Veronica. Okay, so how many of you all have actually read what the Heritage Foundation's proposal is for the United States relationship with Israel from 2029 through 2047? Do you guys know that? Has anybody read it, or did you even know that it existed? Did you know that the Heritage Foundation had done an entire study and outlined what they believe our relationship with Israel must be between 2029 and 2047? Because they did. Y'all want to see it? Let's talk. We'll just take a brief look at it right now. It does exist. Yep, Denise, Heritage. All right, so here we go. All right, folks, I'm going to bring you guys over here. See, we're learning stuff today, aren't we? All right, so this is the Heritage Foundation. All right, see how I'm at heritage.org. And it says U.S.-Israel strategy from special relationship to strategic partnership, 2029 to 2047. Right? So here's the summary. Though numerous successive American administrations have sought to disengage the United States from the Middle East, the region continues to demand U.S. time and resources. However, the establishment of the Abraham Accords, the new strategic landscape that is taking place, that is taking shape due to H's October 7th attack on Israel and the subsequent conflicts, as well as Israel's growth into a military, economic, and technical power, demand that Washington reevaluate how it engages with the region. In this environment, to meet its vital national security challenges while continuing to advance its regional interests, the United States should reorient its relationship with Israel to an equal strategic partnership over the next 2 decades. So that does not sound like they want us to separate from Israel, does it? It sounds like Heritage would like for us to have an equal strategic partnership with Israel for the next 20 years. This is why I don't like conspiracy theorists, right? Oh, it's all a plan. It's all a ploy to do A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. Really? Based on what? Exactly. Based on what? Right? So when we go on down, here are the key takeaways. And listen, folks, I will put all of this in my link tree. I have stuff that I needed to put in the link tree from yesterday. I will put more in the link tree sometime today, right? All right, so listen. The key takeaways is the U.S.-Israel relationship is one of America's most strategically vital partnerships anchored in shared democratic values and common threats. The U.S. should elevate its relationship with Israel to a strategic partnership which requires changing the security and commercial paradigms in the Middle East. Just as the U.S. once phased out financial aid to Israel, so too should the U.S. transition Israel from a military financing recipient to a security partner. And you can read the full report right here. So I'm not going into all that today because that is not the subject of today. We can do it another time, but I will put it in the link tree for people to read. Okay. So no, there was a move for us to stop doing it, but we didn't. It was more of a, we were providing more military stuff rather than just monetary. Okay. So you are welcome, Vicky. All of you guys are going, holy shit, what? You are welcome, Ryan. So this is the difference for, let me ask this, for those of you guys that are on TikTok, how many of you that this is your first time ever being in one of my lives? For any of you that are here, how many of you is it your first time? Just put a 1 in the comments if it's your first time. Andrea, Roxy. A lot of you guys are new. Love to see that. Sandy, shut up. You know you're lying. No worries, PE. It's your second time. Thank you for subscribing, Jen Mad. Appreciate that. Okay, love that. All right, so listen, what I like to do in this space is I don't like to debate politics with people. I will discuss things with individuals. I will absolutely even have discourse, right? I just want it to be respectful. I want it to be fact-based. I don't platform nonsense. I don't platform conspiracy theories. What I like to do is share information with people, accurate information, and then give you all a way to find that information. What, baby? Yeah. What, her beside you? You don't want her beside you? Or you do? No, you don't? Well, come lay up here. Hold on one second, y'all. For those of y'all who don't know me, I also babysit my grandbabies while my daughter is at work. So give me one moment, okay? Come here, sis. You want to lay right here? And then she won't be beside you. You go, sugar butt. Ooh. Here you go, babes. Now you're good to go. Okay? All right. Okay. So, in my yeah, my regulars, we've been here for a while. Okay. So next year will be my 1-year anniversary going live on TikTok. Next month. Good God. Next month will be my 1-year anniversary going live on TikTok. July 28th will make 1 year. All right. So if you go to my profile, whether you're on TikTok, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, in my profile, there is a link tree. That link tree is full of information. And I do mean full of information. So make sure that you go in there and look, there's lots of information on immigration, on Medicaid, on the big ugly bill. Yeah, Ryan, one of my subscribers probably gifted you a subscription. Maybe Sandy or Brandy or Edith or somebody. I appreciate you guys gifting folks. You still remember the walk that you were on when you stumbled on my live? Love that. Yeah, the year flew by, didn't it? So everybody they call my link tree a link forest because it's very, very full of information. Okay. But the reason why I think that this is important, somebody asked me, how do we get to the root, the core issues? How do we get there? I think the way that we get there is to have conversations. And here, y'all know this, y'all. So listen, it's not by focusing on how big it is, because we know that it's big. We know that the issues that we are facing are significant. I don't think there's anybody that would lie and say that that's not the case, right? However, I think what's important for us to understand is exactly how we make a difference. Yep, Veronica, here we go. You ready? Thanks, Vicki. So listen, you guys, liking, sharing, tapping the live, all of those things, subscribing if you can. That's how you help boost this out. When you guys are saying, like on Facebook, they're saying this is needed nationwide. This is how we get the information out there, right? By doing those types of things. Yeah, no worries, Nance. Go where you feel comfortable watching, okay? But I want to show you this. So for those of you guys who said, how do we get there? We get there by focusing, by managing our focus. And you're going to say, what the hell does that mean? Okay, listen, we have breaking news at least 20 times a day. Would you all agree with that? Oh, you're welcome. Would you all agree with that we get breaking news like 20 times a day? Sometimes the breaking news is Trump fell asleep. Sometimes the breaking news is Trump wears a diaper. Sometimes the breaking news is, I don't know, Trump played 18 holes of golf. Like we no longer live in a world where breaking news is truly breaking news, because it used to be when you heard breaking news, you knew that it was something significant that is impacting the entire country, potentially the entire world. And it would be critical for you to know right now in that minute. And it could not wait until the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or 11 o'clock news, right? That is what breaking news used to be. And it is not that anymore. It is, ooh, come click on me. Because the more clicks I get, the better I am in the rankings, the better the algorithm likes me, the more, my media company will pay me. That's what it used to be, right? So, no worries, Cam. So I want to just kind of give you guys this. So when you think about it on a large scale, right? I have Adele. When you think about everything that's happening on a large scale, it seems insurmountable, does it not? And that's what they hope. They want you to be overwhelmed. They want you to be apathetic. They want you to feel withdrawn. They want you to feel like I'm only one person. I can't do anything. They want you to feel like your vote doesn't count. Those are the things that they are working towards. Okay. So here's how we bring it back home, right? and truly actually make a difference. And I'm going to show you, this is how we do it. Amanda J, I'm not covering Israel and Iran right now today. Right now, the things that I'm going to be talking about are immigration. I'm going to be talking about U.S. Steel. I'm going to be talking about the big ugly bill, and which includes like forest stuff, public land stuff. And I'm going to be talking about federal judges. Okay. All right. So let me show you this. All right. Because I can't cover everything every day, folks. Okay. That's the thing. That's why they want you to be overwhelmed. I have people that come in and say, okay, well, can you talk about this? I can, but not right now, because I got to talk about this one thing. Right. And so let me show you how we do this. And I say this, and for those of you guys who watch all the time, and you hear this all the time, new people need to hear it. So we got to keep repeating it, right? We got to keep repeating it so that people hear it. So I want you to focus on 3 circles. 3 circles is what I want you to focus on. You ready? So this very first circle, circle number 1, is the circle of control. Gotcha? What are you talking about? Social media is staying away from Iran. What are you talking about? I don't know what that means. Nobody tells me what to cover and what not to cover. So I just have an agenda for today, like I do every day, right? All right, so you see this? Oh, we played Schoolhouse Rock yesterday, Audra. We did. We literally played the Schoolhouse Rock 3 branches of government one yesterday. But so listen, so in here, this first circle, circle number 1 is the circle of control. Got it? Circle number 1 is about what you can control. So for those of you guys who are able to put in the comments things that you can control, like absolutely control. What can you control? Let me know. Deidre said me. Manda J said our reaction. Yep. You guys are saying emotions, my own behavior, my own reactions, my actions, myself, my attitude, my responses. Yes, your vote. Absolutely. So your perspective on your environment, right? Yeah. What you do, what you say, right? What you watch. Yes. You see that? So your communication with direct leaders, right? So you can, your portfolio, exactly, right? So you can focus on the things that you can control, what you share, what you spread, how you talk, what you believe, how you respond, what you do, right? You get to control you and those things, right? Now, guess what? You don't get to control your reputation. You get to influence it, right? But people are going to say what they're going to say. Okay. So the second circle, circle number 2, is the circle of influence. So think about the things that you can influence. I can influence my friends. I can influence my family. I can influence my peers. I can influence my followers. I can influence my neighborhood and my community. I can influence my representatives. I can influence my senators. I can influence, you see what I'm saying? I can influence those people even though I can't control the outcome, but I can influence them. I can influence my local paper when I write a letter to the editor, right? I can influence my social media network. I can influence those people even though I can't control them, right? And then circle number 3 is everything else. Whatever you cannot control and whatever you cannot influence falls into circle number 3, right? And the cool thing about circle number 3 is your circle number 3 is somebody else's circle number 1 or circle number 2. Got it? So when people say, how do we get to the core of this thing? It's by putting 80% of your time, of your focus, of your energy, of your emotional currency into the things that you can control and the things that you can influence. If you spend 80% of your time and 80% of your energy and your emotions and your effort and your work into the things that you can control and into the things that you can influence, we will all do this. We will get to where we want to go. Because listen, I can't do shit about them court cases. them court cases are circle number 3 for me, right? But them court cases are circle number 1 and circle number 2 for the lawyers and the judges, right? And you can email the Supreme Court. You can email the Supreme Court and remind them of their oath to the Constitution. You can email them. You can contact judges and legislators, right? And it's not like you're going to influence them to do what you want to do, but you can remind them to do what the law says they're supposed to do. You can remind them of their obligation to the Constitution and not to a particular party. That's the same thing with your elected officials. I can't control them, but I can do my best to influence them. And so the only part that I'm going to worry about is the part that I can influence. The part that I can't do anything about, I'm going to let it go because I don't have the bandwidth to worry about all of those other things. And if I put more than 20% of my time and focus and energy in that into others, right? If I do that, then I don't have enough energy to control the things that I can control or to influence the things that I can influence. Tyke, you said, well, they listen. I can't control or influence that. So I'm not going to worry about it. How do you email the Superior Court? It's in my link tree, but I'll show you real quick. Whoops. Hold on, and I'll show you. So let me show you. They haven't given one, GG. So let me just share my screen with you guys real quick. So this is how you contact the Supreme Court. Let me share that with these folks over here because they don't see it. All right. This is how you contact the Supreme Court, folks. You can send mail. You can make a phone call. They don't have a public comment phone line, but that's why mail is important. And can I just tell you all this? And there are general questions that are not time sensitive. There's a place where you can email them, right? Reporters can press 1, right? But these are different things. This is how you do it. All right. So listen, let me just say this. To the person who said, will they listen? My name is not Miss Cleo. I don't know what these people are going to do. Well, so listen, you're the same person that asked that question. And now you're saying, thank you, Sandy. You said, oh, they most likely won't listen. So why waste the time? Well, there is a chance that they might. So I think that I will. And I don't believe that it is ever doing a good thing. Making a good effort is never a waste of time. Never a waste of time. Let me say that part again. Doing a good thing, putting out a good effort is never a waste of time. I am not responsible for what people do with what I put out. Listen, I'm sitting up here right now on this live and I'm sharing tons of, appreciate you, Sandy, tons of information, lots of facts, lots of resources. And there are some people that are in here going, holy shit, this is great. How can I do this? How can I do that? Let me get into the link tree. And then there are other people in here going, well, if they're illegal, they just need to all go. I'm not responsible for what y'all do with what I'm doing. I'm not. I am only responsible for what I can control and what I can influence, right? That's it. So I'm not going to worry about what you do with it. I can't. Because it's not my responsibility. What I have to do, and this is the way that I stay grounded, is I believe that when I put out good, regardless, it has to manifest. It has to complete what it is intended to do. Whether it completes it today or a week from now or a year from now, I don't know. and I'm not attached to the outcome. Right? You follow me on that? You're welcome, Annette. Listen, folks, the thing is to do the work and not be attached to the outcome. Do the work and don't be attached to the outcome. Becoming attached to the outcome can cause you to miss the blessings. Being attached to the outcome can make you miss what you actually accomplished. Okay? There's lots of ways to win. There's lots of ways to, yeah, you're welcome, Hawk. There's lots of ways to move the needle forward, right? So that's how I think we get it done. That is how I think we do it, right? And so that is why so Amanda J said, let go of expectations. I'll tell you what, when I talk about expectations, here's the way that I talk about them, okay? So an expectation, if you are disappointed in someone, it is because you have an unrealized expectation. And the thing that you have to ask yourself is, did that person agree to the expectation that you have? Because if they didn't agree that you should expect that from them, you disappointed yourself. You set an expectation that nobody agreed that you should. Don't do that. Right? I'm just telling you, okay? So that's how we do the work. And then you make yourself impactful when you're doing the work by finding the facts and then being able to communicate the facts in a way that you can be heard. Okay? That's how you do it. Are you going to be heard every time? No. Will there be people that deserve a fuck off? Yes. Give them the fuck off if necessary, because I have. Right? Because at the end of the day, we are human beings, okay? But we have to understand that, this is the road, right? All right. So, I played Jimenez. You're welcome, Emily Rose. I played Jimenez testimony, and there is a girl, no, none of that shit works anymore, Red Hot. I don't even have it, by the way. Listen, if I am ever pregnant, we are hella rich because I have no parts to accomplish that. So it will definitely be a miracle, and your girl is getting paid. Oh no. I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. It's actually true. But anyway, okay. So I'm going to put the link to her testimony as well as the link to the transcript of her testimony into the link tree as well. You just spit out your coffee. I'm serious. And let me just tell y'all have to remember, I am over 50 years old. Oh, it's not a replay, Kimber. I'm still live. Listen, y'all, I am over 50 years old. Okay. If somebody told me that anything, if anybody told me, girl, you'll get pregnant in a year, I would rip my uterus out, throw it in the street, and roll over it with a car. Because I have no desire to give birth. No. No, thank you. Yeah. So, Donna Ski, I've been on now for not quite 2 hours, but close. About an hour and 40 minutes or so. Just saying, right? Okay. But that's how we do it. So I want to move on to a couple of other things, right? Because we've talked about immigration. We have talked to, girl, I absolutely do look over 20. Jesus Christ. But anyway, but thank you. So let me just say this. So we've talked about immigration. We've talked about her testimony. And we've talked about the numbers and Operation Stone Garden and all of those things, right? Now I want to go to this new part, to this next part, unless anybody has questions on immigration. Does anybody have any specific questions on immigration before I go to the next part? Right, Cheryl. I'm with you all day. Hey, Brenda. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I am fantastic. What you got for me?
Just wanted to come on here real quick and say, because I heard a couple things that you were talking about, specifically when you said earlier about, what you do affects other people and vice versa. Like so many people, I guess, have not learned or don't, and definitely don't practice intersectionality. And I think that's a huge problem. And then also, like, you don't really understand the difference between kindness and niceness and politeness.
Yeah.
Because kindness has nothing to do with how someone reacts to what you do.
Right.
So if you're always doing it in kindness, however they react, won't upset you, won't concern you, because you know that you were doing the right thing.
Yep.
So anyway, I haven't seen you in a while, so I just wanted to also come up and say hi. And you guys, you are so awesome.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I've been here.
Yeah. Also, I know that it's like political and whatever, but with the State Department, I know that they're still waiting to hear, because my sister works for the State Department. So she's waiting to hear if she's going to have a job, but she's very upset. Like, she was okay with Rubio at the beginning, but then she realized he's just doing it for himself.
Yep.
And now she may be out of, possibly having a teaching job at the beginning of the year that she could have applied for if she had already lost her job, And she's hoping that because her husband has tenure at the State Department that, he's safe. But, there's no guarantees with this administration.
True story.
So,
definitely not.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
So, I know. It's so scary. But, I mean, because she's like, because when she was overseas, she had issues with first getting a job with that Common Core or whatever it is, because she's a math teacher.
Yep.
And then when she was in Jordan, the first year she was a substitute teacher. The second year she got on as a full-time teacher, absolutely loved it. And she's like, and the boy's going to go for free, so I'm all about it. And but then the next year, like halfway through the fall semester, they like changed the grading system or whatever. And she had to be the one to tell the students that things changed. And I mean, of course they were upset and everything like that. So it's just, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's like, oh, to have to go back into that again. So
yes,
it can be tough. It can be tough.
Yeah.
So,
and definitely, this is why I keep telling everybody we've got to. All right, Stacey D, we've got to stay grounded and deep breaths as we kind of navigate our way through this, because this is not something that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and you got to hydrate and stretch. And all the things. Yeah. Yeah.
And when you were talking about the breaking news and stuff like that, I mean, his whole thing is to distract, that's what it's all about, to distract from what he's actually doing and stuff like that. So that's why I support like independent journalism, like Status Coup, because they go on the ground in different areas, like, mostly in LA and New York, or, on the coast and that sort of thing, but they're fantastic. And I also recommend, I don't know if are you familiar with Mona Eltawawi? She's a feminist, but she has a book called The 7 Necessary Sins for Women and Girls.
No.
I really think it's for everyone, but I think it's a book that you would appreciate.
Gotcha.
So, I'll put it in the chat or whatever.
Okay.
Or send you a private message. But
Okay.
anyway, I'll go down for anyone else that wants to come up. But I do appreciate you.
Yeah, I
Good to
appreciate
see
you too.
again.
Yeah, hoping things will go well for your sister and her husband.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
Take care.
You too. So I want to say this because I have to address things that get put into the chat sometimes. I will not be discussing any theories or rumors about bounty hunters being involved in ICE raids because there is no factual information to support that is something that is happening. There's actually been some reports that say absolutely that is not happening. And so, no, that will not be something that I cover here. And we won't be talking about it in the chat as well, right? I don't do conspiracy theories. I don't do half-ass claims. I don't do any of that. So I'm not doing that, folks. I just need to be very clear that we're not going to do that. Okay. Okay. So you are very welcome. Yeah. That's how we do things. All right, folks. When I bring you up, just put yourself on mute until I get to you, please. Give me 1 second. All right, cool. Good morning, Little Mecca. What you got for me? Little Mecca, did you mean to request up? I'm guessing not. Okay. Yeah, they're two completely different programs from my corner. If you are referring to the passports and trans and intersex individuals yesterday, yes, I did see that decision. I was live yesterday when that decision happened, and we talked about it. So give me 1 second, people. Yeah. So let me just say this, okay? So somebody asked me about J6ers that had been pardoned participating with ICE. The only instance of that I know about as being even talked about is Brandon Fellows, who was a January 6th defendant in February of this year, made some jokes about being dressed as an ICE, having an ICE jacket and a "Make America Great Again" hat, and he was making jokes about scaring undocumented immigrants in an interview at CPAC. Other than that, again, it's just one of those things that are being said. And so I think it's really important, folks, that whenever someone says, "Have you heard?" I almost automatically go, I don't get into all the things that you hear, right? I just want to talk about the things that are factual, that can be confirmed, because I just don't think it benefits anybody to get into the "what have you heard" types of things. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's my thought process on that. Okay. I would like to take a second. Good morning, EGJ. There was somebody else that asked me about something. Give me a second. No. Let me see if I can remember what it is. I'm going to see if there is okay. So I was going to see if I could find like a good article for you guys that would be helpful in terms of definitions, but let me see if this does it. There it is. Thank you. That's what I wanted. So refugees and asylum, TikTok is acting weird. Did you mean to request that? Because I brought you up, but then you went back down, and I wasn't sure what you wanted to do. Like I brought you up, but then it dropped you. Back. Okay, cool. But you're not there. Jesus. Let me try to send you an invite and see if it brings you up. Let me see if that works that way. There you go. What's up, Fire Rider? How are you, friend?
I'm good.
What you got for me?
You know, I mean, I was listening to you talk about the immigration process and everything else, and I don't know if you know that I'm an immigrant.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so my family came from Jamaica when I was 5 years old. So, and I was reading through the actual process of as far as becoming a citizen, and it's a 5-step process.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the undocumented immigrants actually getting deported on step 4, which is the interview process. They're actually grabbing them during their interview. So they only have one more step to become a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they're being deported. So, which is tragic to me because my family went through the same thing.
Yeah.
And additionally, when you're 5 years old and your family takes you to another country, you don't have a choice in the matter.
Correct.
You're just here.
You're just a kid.
When someone is here for, let's say, 10 years, 14 years, and they are undocumented, that child had no choice in the matter. They came here with their parents. So I think there needs to be some kind of transition or some, I guess, vehicle for people that are in that, that window. It's like my parents just brought me here. So why are you going to deport me to a country that I know nothing about? So
right.
And I figured this would be a good segue into what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I think that it's really important. So that's why when we talk about we need to expand legal pathways.
Right.
And if you remember, at the end of the Obama administration, he wanted to do that for DACA
Right.
and some other folks, and the Supreme Court blocked him from doing that. And so I'm with you. I just think that we should not be penalizing adults who were children when they came here, who had no say in the matter, who have done nothing but be kids and be productive, and they haven't committed any crimes or any of those types of things. Like, why are we not doing that? That to me is just like a given. It just should be a thing, right?
Yeah, and the way I think about it, on another timeline, they could have deported me because I did not petition for my citizenship until I was 29 years old. So from 5 to the age of 29, I had a permanent visa. So
wow.
Let's see what's going on right now. Oh yeah, I was when I joined the Army.
Mm-hmm.
I joined as a foreign national.
Yep.
And I stayed, and it wasn't until year 3 that I was in the Army that I petitioned when I moved to Colorado. So,
people don't realize that a lot of times that we do have people that join our military as foreign nationals with the promise of citizenship and protection and all that. And sometimes we deport them as veterans, and then they are living in other countries and cannot get their benefits.
Yeah. So this entire narrative that, undocumented workers are creating crimes, my parents would have beat my butt if I got in any kind of trouble, because that's grounds for me being deported. I break any of the laws. So
right.
That's not happening.
And that's the thing, that it makes no sense, right? When you say that undocumented or unauthorized immigrants are committing crimes, that's just dumb, because that's how you get deported, right? So it makes absolutely no sense. There's so many things that they say that just don't make sense, right? You can't say that they're lazy and they're stealing all your SNAP benefits and your Medicaid and all of those things, and at the same time say they are stealing all your jobs. Make up your minds. Make up your minds which one they are. So, Anita Stewart, I'm a veteran as well, and so it's a thing. Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I had. I figured I'd give you a segue back into your topic.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much. All right, my friend, have a great one. So let me give you some let me help you. So I'm going to show you something that's from August of last year in Congress. So, because y'all know I like to do, hey Hilda, how are you? I like to do facts, right? So that people know where to get the information from themselves. So let me show you all this. I'm going to flip my camera around. This is from Congress. And this is foreign nationals in the U.S. Armed Forces immigration issues. This is from August of last year. And so what we know is that as of February of 2024, more than 40,000 foreign nationals were serving in active and reserve components of the armed forces. An estimated additional 115,000 foreign nationals residing in the U.S. are veterans who have previously served on active duty. This report focuses on immigration considerations related to foreign nationals in the armed forces, including U.S. citizenship eligibility through military service and the removal of foreign nationals who have already served in the armed forces. So this is a thing, and this is an issue that needs to be addressed. So yeah. And just for, could I give you guys like a little bit of context? There are, so as of August of last year, there were 40,000 foreign nationals that were current duty or reserve. And there are 15,000 active duty military personnel who are trans that are being pushed out of the military and losing their careers for simply being who they are, right? So while everybody's talking shit, many of these people that you all don't like are doing jobs that you would not do and that the current commander-in-chief would not do. So remember that while people are passing judgment. Just a thought. Okay. All right. So you're welcome, PE. All right, let me get rid of this. All right. So yeah, it's important for people to know, right? Okay, so I want to talk about, because remember I said that we have several topics that I want to cover today. You're welcome, Anita. All right, so let me see. Hold on one second. Oh, thanks, user. Appreciate that. All right, so let me just go ahead and kind of cover where we are so far. We have been live for, we are right at the 2-hour mark. In that 2-hour mark, we have covered a little bit of immigration law. We have covered that it is a civil penalty to improperly enter the United States of America. We have covered that it is covered under 8 USC 1325 and 1326, and the differences in those different distinctions. We have also covered Hamina's testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee. We have also looked at her specific talk about Stewart Detention Center, that ICE detention center that she was held at for 2.5 weeks. And then we've also looked at a report from an unannounced visit to several ICE detention centers in which barbaric conditions were described and discovered, right? From withholding of medical treatment to claiming that people had been seen at sick call to not rounding on them when they were supposed to along the schedule, to all different types of things, to unclean medical facilities, all of these types of things. So these are the things that we have talked about so far. And so I just want to make sure that everybody is up to speed. The other thing that we talked about this morning is I pulled up something that is called the American Presidency Project. You can Google that for yourself. If you really want to be specific and find the thing that I'm talking about, yes, it is in my link tree. However, you can also do American Presidency Project, April 2021, and just do VP Harris, and you will get her presidential pool notes. I believe it's for April 14th, I think is the date. Don't quote me on that exact date, but that is the day that the media first learned that she was being assigned to address the root causes of immigration. and coming and working with the folks in Mexico and Guatemala and those folks in the Northern Triangle region. So they knew that. They knew that the entire time. And they knew better than it was, she's the whole border czar and she's supposed to stop immigration. That's not a thing. It never happened. The media allowed those headlines to exist and created those headlines last year, leading up to one of the most important elections of our life. So if you believed what the media told you, that she was the border czar and that she was supposed to stop immigration, right? Don't be mad at Democrats. Don't be mad at Vice President Harris. Don't be mad at Joe Biden. Be mad at the media and the folks that were spreading that information that people knew to be false. Okay. So there you go. All right. So the second thing that I want to talk about now is I'm going to ask you guys a question again. So how many of you all are familiar with the golden share that the United States of America now has in U.S. Steel? How many of you guys, if you are not familiar, put a 1. If you're not familiar with the U.S. Steel merger with Nippon Steel from Japan and the golden share that we have, please put a 1. All right, great. New information. Love that. Yeah, you guys are like, what? Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. All right, so let me share it with you guys, okay? So Joe Biden has been blocking the merger of Nippon Steel, NIPPON, from Japan and U.S. Steel in the United States of America because of national security concerns, right? So, under the Biden administration, the merger of those two folks, those two entities, was prevented by the Biden administration. Under the Trump administration, that merger has now been allowed to happen on the condition that the United States of America has been given a golden share of stock in U.S. Steel. Now, here's what's important about this golden share. It is only for the U.S. Steel side of things, and it is not for Nippon Steel. Okay. It gives the president and his successors a single share of preferred stock that is known as Class G or gold stock, and it gives the president permanent veto power over nearly a dozen actions that U.S. Steel might want to take, as well as power over its board of directors. Yeah, Gigi, I'm going to put it in the link tree when I'm done. But I'm going to share my screen with you in just a second. So there's a couple of different articles out there. I've got one that I want to share with you all right now. So give me a second to bring you guys over here. Yeah, I know you guys are like, what the fuck? What the hell? I know. Just take a deep breath, people. Take a deep breath. Like I said, there's several different articles about this. I'm just going to share this one with you right now. Because it for me, it is 100% concerning. So we're going to flip the camera. So, did Trump effectively nationalize U.S. Steel with his quote unquote golden share? Right. And, here's the deal. So I'm just going to kind of take you down to here. Okay. So this has been a long in limbo merger of U.S. Steel and the Japanese company Nippon Steel, which had been held up for months by the U.S. government on national security concerns. But the companies agreed to give the U.S. government veto power over certain aspects of corporate governance, U.S. production, and trade. And this is Trump saying, quote, "We have a golden share, which I control." He added that it would give him, quote unquote, total control over relevant U.S. Steel business decisions. Over the weekend, new details emerged about how the share is intended to work, provoking some comparisons with nationalization schemes in other countries. So this is Sarah Dansman, who wrote this article, as a resident senior fellow with the Geoeconomics Center's Economic Statecraft Initiative. And so she goes into exactly what this deal means and how it lands between free enterprise and state control and what it might mean for other U.S. businesses. So it talks about what is a golden share. And so it typically refers to a special class of ownership stake in a publicly traded company reserved for the government. The golden share confers substantial shareholder rights that would otherwise be atypical given the size of the ownership position. So for instance, the Brazilian government has a golden share in Embraer, its national aviation champion. And that amounts to about 5% equity stake in the previously owned state-owned company. The arrangement also provides the government substantial governance rights, such as the ability to direct the company's strategic director or veto or takeover power. Did you have one or two? Do something different. And I'll help you. If you're ready for lunch, let me know. And the United Kingdom has also used golden share. Now, I find this one to be really interesting. The United Kingdom has used golden share arrangements extensively to retain influence over strategically important companies such as BAE. Now, remember, so I'm from Northeast Tennessee. We have BAE, which used to be Holston Army Defense, in Kingsport, Tennessee. So that's interesting to me. And NATS, which is its air traffic control provider after they were privatized. So I want to go down to this part right here, right? Reporting suggests that the golden share that the U.S. government has is with U.S. Steel rather than Nippon Steel, right? And it's important. That distinction is important because it means that the United States government's influence, the formal influence over Nippon, will only relate to its U.S. business, right? And not to its business operations in other locations. So by tying that golden share specifically to U.S. Steel, the government has also ensured that it will be able to fully control any future sale of the company. The golden share is quote unquote non-economic, meaning that it did not require the U.S. government to make an investment in the company, and it does not provide the United States with an equity stake in the company. That means that the government will not be earning an economic return on its share, nor would it be eligible to accrue dividends. Additionally, the U.S. is not going to be involved in the day-to-day operations of U.S. Steel. So because of this, the U.S. is not taking equity stakes away from owners. So this is not technically, quote unquote, nationalization. However, and here's the part that's important, the golden share gives the United States government an extraordinary amount of control over this company. The company's governance documents will outline the areas of strategic and operational decision-making over which the U.S. president will now have veto authority. U.S. Steel may not be state-owned, but it is certainly now controlled by the government. So U.S. Steel is now officially controlled by the government. So the things that I have, and like I said, I'm not going to go into all of it, right? I'm going to provide the link for you to read the rest. But things that that come to mind for me automatically is, do you all remember during well, no, he couldn't steal it. No, but listen, here's the thing. Do you all remember when right before the election, they had taken a clip that was like one piece of a rally that Kamala Harris had back in 2019 when she was running for president, and it was in Iowa. And at this rally, she was talking about medications. And she was talking about the cost to Americans for those things and what she would want to do about it and all of that. And do you all remember that they took a clip of her where she talked about, quote unquote, snatching a patent, and they started screaming, big government, big government. Kamala Harris is fine with the government taking patents from private corporations. Remember that? This big concern that, you know, the big government was coming for corporations. And yet, here's what we see. Because Joe Biden could have absolutely done what Donald Trump just did, but he did not, right? So now what we have is the federal government officially not nationalizing, but having control over an entire corporation in the United States of America, U.S. Steel. What I want to know from Republicans is, how do you feel about that? I would love for a Republican or someone who supports Donald Trump to be able to tell me why this should be celebrated and should not be a concern, and why we would not consider this an overreach like big government. Why would we not consider this to be big government? That's what I would really love to know, right? With actual facts and reasoning. Yeah, so that is one step away from nationalizing it. The only thing that makes it different is the equity piece, right? And I think that people don't even understand the rest of what's happening here. So, because while this is happening, his sons are absolutely on the move, creating businesses and agreements with other countries. Good morning, Miss Nina. So, give me 1 second. Let me just kind of, I need to look at the piece that I had on the boys. Yes. Okay. I'm not to this part where there's something else that I have to tell you about before I get to the boys. And it goes beyond the crypto things and all of that, folks, right? So I really want people to understand that it is, in my opinion, it's a whole ass mess. And for me, so here's the part that really bothers me. Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America, which means he is the person right now in total control of U.S. Steel, right? And he has approved this deal between U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel from Japan, right? And the thing that that bothers me about that is, this is a man who filed bankruptcy with his businesses 6 times. I don't know that I want him to have veto power over business decisions that U.S. Steel would make, or that its board of directors would make. I don't trust this man to be business savvy, to be quite frank, right? Stephen Miller is running the immigration show. Stephen Miller is not running the U.S. Steel show. Like, what we have within the Trump administration are different factions, right? So you have a white nationalist faction, you have a Christian nationalist faction, you have an extreme capitalist, money-driven faction, and those people are all working to achieve their individual goals, right? And sometimes they have points of intersectionality and sometimes they don't. But it's really important for folks to understand that when it comes to whose hands are on this one, oh, this is definitely the money side. This is the money side of things. So whether you're looking at your Scott Bessent and your oh my God, I can't think of the other boy's name. Anyway, those folks. His sons aren't smart enough to dictate this. His sons are simply benefiting from it. So here's what happens is they have folks that are running things in the government, and those folks are behind the scenes, and they are typically smart. Yet Peter Thiel is one of them, although Peter Thiel is more interested in the data and in his data corporation than he is U.S. Steel, right? But understanding that these folks are involved. However, what you have is those group of people that are helping the boys, whoever they may be, I don't know how to properly take advantage of these things. So, yep, this is the money that tech feudalists and who want to merge the government and the corporate world. Yeah. So, so this is the thing. Yeah, Mojave Mike, it's on my list. I'm just not there yet. It's literally next on my list. So give me a second before I go to land. What I would love to do is take a quick bio break and then be back. So can I get somebody to give me a break very, very quickly? And then we are going to get into the public land and the verbiage in the big, beautiful bill and some of the big, big concerns about that. Okay. So appreciate you, Jen. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll be right back, folks.
Hey guys, good morning. Well, it's morning for me. It might be early afternoon for some of you guys. I always feel like I come in here late and it really stinks because I'm on the West Coast. But anyways, I love all of you. And while Danny is taking her quick little break, please let's support her the best we can. Let's start with the free ways. You can keep clapping by tapping, right? Let's keep doing that. We are at 321K already. That's awesome. Let's see if we can get to 325 by the time she gets back. The other free way that you guys can help Danny is by sharing her content. That is with the little curved arrow in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Tap that arrow, and even if you don't have somebody specific or a group thread that you like to share with, tap the arrow anyway and click the copy link. And please do that a few times, right? That kind of helps get the content pushed out to the FYP. And again, doesn't cost you a thing. If you don't mind contributing one TikTok coin to Danny's team, if you're already following her, great. If you're not following her, please do so by clicking the follow button by her name in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. If you're already following, please join her fan club. You can do that by tapping the heart me, and that joins her team. And then you can click that every day that you come in. It's once a day. So even if she's on here twice a day, please do that. That reminds me, if you are on Facebook or if you are on the tube, please also make sure that you click the thumbs up button over there, okay? And you can also click the hearts on Facebook as well. All those things help her different streams. So please let's not ignore those, especially because we never know what's going on with this app over here on TikTok world. So please do those things everywhere that you can. If you don't mind helping the algorithm in a couple other ways, yes, with some TikTok coins, if you have them, you can help her with her gift goal. That is a scrolling goal in the middle center top portion of her screen. That's also scrolling with her subscriber goals. And so you can do that a couple of different ways. I always like to mention, just in case any of you guys here are new, Danny has this amazing Linktree. Linktree is the official name, but we all like to call it the Link Forest because it is immense. That's free information for you. And don't forget, you can use some of those sources to make your own content and spread the word and get more people in our community. Community is so important, and Danny is an expert at connecting people into a community. She bridges gaps with opposition. She teaches you how to talk with your family, with your neighbors, all those things that we are really struggling with today. So Danny is a certified coach. She's a consultant. So, she gets her own training. She does all her own research, and then she brings it to us. That's a lot of work. So if you don't mind, you can also use her pay apps. I noticed they're not on her background right now, but you can find them through her link, her bio, and all of the different avenues that you can find. Thank you guys for the gifts. That's so sweet of you guys. So make sure you do that because she does spend a lot of time and money on doing the research. And then if you do subscribe to her, you will also get subscriber only benefits. She does book club readings, she does movie screenings, she does trainings. So there is a plethora of things that you can benefit for going the extra mile and helping her in those ways. And again, it's not just helping her, it's really helping you too. So you are getting something in exchange for your investment. And I will call it an investment because, man, we have a long road ahead of us, you guys. And I know that Danny's probably making her way back, but I will add this, you guys. Let's all keep in mind, I know it's really, really hard for us right now because we are used to things like instant gratification. We watch, sitcoms and things where the world's problems resolve itself in 30 minutes. And we kind of, and even in our TikTok streams, right, we get used to something coming to conclusion or closure within just a matter of minutes. And this is going to be a long road, right? So we have to pace ourselves, use your community, borrow a shoulder to lean on once in a while, right? Just as like Jenny does with us and we do with her. Make that exchange, make those connections like she's teaching us how to do, and make sure that you are in it for the marathon, not just the sprint, okay? So we've got some sprinting to do here and there, but let's take turns. It'll be like a relay. Hang in there, everybody, and we got it because we have each other.
100%. Appreciate you, Jen.
You're welcome.
The expert commercial giver. Appreciate you. Miss you very much. Thank you. All right. So I do appreciate that. For those of you who know me, I literally forgot to take my stuff this morning. So I was like, let me grab a biscuit real quick and And remember to take care of me at the same time that I'm doing everything else. Thank you for resubscribing, Cindy. Appreciate you. Welcome back. All right. So, folks, listen. I do want to. So the next thing I talk about. Oh, geez, oh, Pete. I want to preface this by saying, okay, what's up, C? Good to see you. There are people that want to act like the environment is some hippie, lefty, crazy, liberal thing. And number one, I know that that's a mistake. Number two, it is so short-sighted and ignorant that it's unbelievable. If you do not know what it is like to not have clean drinking water, that's privilege, right? That's privilege. To have never had that experience yourself is a privilege. And it would be great for people to become informed as to what life is like when you don't have those things, right? When you don't have clean drinking water, when you don't have land that will actually grow something, right? So many of us, we talk about, oh, we should start a garden. And it's because you're blessed to have ground that you got good ground, right? It will actually grow something. Not all ground will grow something. When your water gets so contaminated that you cannot swim in it, that you cannot fish in it, what if that is your only resource? So what if you live somewhere where the river runs through and that river is the center of what you do, right? When it gets contaminated and you can't play in it and you can't fish in it and you can't drink in it and it reaches a level that where it cannot be rehabilitated, that's a big deal. Let me ask a question. If you have never ever visited the EPA's website and looked up a chemical company and looked for any of its violations. How many of you have never done that? If you've never looked up a company and their violations, put a 1 in the chat for me. Because I have. But put a 1 in the chat for me. All right. A lot of you haven't. You have, Audra? Let me ask you this. How many of you all, if you live beside or if you live within a 50-mile radius, if you live within a 50-mile radius of a major plant, chemical company, power company, like something like that, gas company, if you live within a 50-mile radius of something like that, can you please put a 2 in the comments? Look how many 2s I have. Wow. Somebody said we were taught in school to test the water. I can tell you I was. So I keep saying this. I'm from Northeast Tennessee. When I was in like 6th grade and we took a 6th grade trip down by the Nolatucky. And when we went out into the boats and in the canoes, we that was one of the things. We had testing kits, and we tested the water in the Nolatucky River when I was in like 5th and 6th grade. How many of you guys remember doing something like that in school? Right? Hey, Rebecca Little Bird. I needed a reminder, or I got a reminder when I went to Standing Rock in December of 2016, right? And when I went to Standing Rock, we were literally right beside the river. And at about 6 a.m, they would get up and you would hear the call for it. Were you? I was there the weekend that we had the big blizzard. I want to say like the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th that weekend. But they would get up in the morning and they would go to the river for a water ceremony. So if you're a Christian, imagining getting up and going to church every morning to pray, or going to church to do confession or whatever, right? So that's what they would do. They would get up every morning around 6:30 in the morning, and they would go for water ceremony. That river was also the source of where the kids play and where they wash clothes out. And like it was that river was the source of life, right? And it was a really good reminder about that. And so when I went back home back in 2018 and 2019, it made me start to look at something. Now I didn't plan to look this up, but I'm going to do it really quickly and see if I can find what I'm looking for real quickly. All right. So there is something that you can use. There's different, there's a facility profile report, and then there's also a FRS facility detail report. I look at this one because of where I'm from. So for those of you all who are wondering, yes, I just looked up Eastman Chemical Company. And we are going to take a dig and take a look. And all of that. Okay. You ready? All right. So, give me a second. Yeah. Everybody remembers Aaron Brockovich, as well, but yeah. So I want to get to, all right. Okay. Yeah, this is what I want. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen for you folks over here on this side. And I'm going to share it for you guys now over here. And let me do this first. And now I'm going to do this. And I'm just showing you all where you can go for information. So this is the facility detail report. As you can see, this is Eastman Chemical Company. They are headquartered in Kingsport, Tennessee. This is the selective facility. This is the EPA facility of interest, and this is the state or tribe of the facility of interest. And then you can actually go down here, and you will actually see the facility name. You can look at different reports. You can look at the environmental interest type, and you can look at the date and the source, last update, and supplemental environmental interest, right? And so these are really interesting things that, like, I'm not going to dig into them now, right? But I will tell you that you can go look up. So I'm just going to, let me see if I can do really quickly. Hold on, you guys, bear with me. That's their releases. So this one, they were just fined for, this was in 2023, $2.4 million for polluting in Western Pennsylvania, in Allegheny County. This is for the river up there. But give me 1 second because I want to look up one more thing for you. I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. Just give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. All right. There we go. There's another one though. I want to do the water one. The water one. Water. Sorry, guys. I'm looking. So here's what I could actually show you is that, and that's what I was looking for. And maybe I won't do it today. But there's some of the water, there's some of the rivers around our area where the water is not, you can't rehabilitate it. Like there's no fish in it, and there will not be any fish in it, right? There's also this place called goodjobsfirst.org, and it's a violation tracker. So I'm going to share that with you really quickly. I've looked at it before. And what I will do is I'll typically look at that violation and on this website and then go look it up where it's supposed to be. So just give me one sec. So this is Eastman's overall summary. Oof, hold on. Let me turn my camera around. And this is the top 5 offense groups. So environment-related offenses, competition-related offenses, safety-related offenses, and employment-related offenses. It tells you what the penalty totals are for each of those, and the number of records that exist because of them. And like there's a whole log of them. So Eastman owns lots of other companies, but that aren't just named Eastman. And so like this one was a private lawsuit that was federal for $50 million in 2003. You can actually organize them by year. And so EPA, $7,500. But you see what I'm saying? Like, so air pollution is a big one for Eastman. As you can see, all of these are air pollution, and they are all last year. This is Tennessee air pollution. Okay. There's a lot. There's a lot. So what I would highly recommend to you is that if you live in an area that has a company similar to this, right? And in our region back home, we have several, right? You've got nuclear fuel, you've got Eastman, you've got BAE, you've got Air Gas, you've got Domtar. They just pay a fine. They just consider it the cost of doing business. And you can look it up for the ones nearby and the rivers. So the other thing that I want to explain to you, one of the reasons that I get very upset with our government is that what we do with EPA is the same thing that we do with the DOJ does with healthcare. Typically, they will just fine them. They will say, oh, well, you committed fraud, or, oh, you billed an error, or, oh, you contaminated this river. Pay us X amount of dollars. But the reality is when they make billions of dollars a year, right? When they make billions of dollars a year, what is $300 million? It's nothing. It's pennies. And the people that are running these companies are never criminalized. I won't say never. I will say almost never. And that's the problem that I have, because you allow these corporate corner boys, that's what I call them, because people like to demonize the corner boys in the inner cities that are selling the devil's lettuce, right? I call them corporate corner boys because they are absolutely committing crimes at the expense of people. They are committing crimes that cost the lives of people, and they get bonuses for it, and they get promoted for it. I call them corporate corner boys. And so we praise them. So if you dress it up in a suit and a tie and you put it in a corporate office, doing those types of things isn't a crime. It's just a civil penalty. You pay a fine and keep going because it's just the cost of doing business. And that's the problem, right? Cheryl wants to pop in for just a second. So good morning, Cheryl. What's up?
Hey there. The thing to consider that a lot of people know, years ago I worked in a water toxicology lab, and we also did sediment testing. And the thing that blew my mind, I was there as an office manager, but it was a great little family-owned business, so I got to learn all the different things, and they even taught me how to do testing. It was crazy. But anyway, these government contracts, so that's what they did. They worked with the government contracts. So they had all the large companies, electric companies, Tropicana, you name it. And they would have to do their water toxicology testing. So they have to have this done on a regular basis, but the regular basis is like once a year, once every couple of years. Yeah. And then you go through the testing, which takes time. And then if they fail, they get a retest.
Yep,
a retest. And all this, again, takes time. Like sediment testing takes a really long time for the process. But they get all these. And then, like you said, if they fail, they just get fined. So meanwhile, you've got all this time in between too. So it's really this huge big deal. People talk about, they want to cut regulations. To me, it's already not regulated enough.
That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, just want to point out to people, like, the time frame for these type testings. Now, I do think, if I was reading and remembering correctly, they if they fail a certain amount of times, then, you know, supposedly the government's supposed to come in and there's supposed to be these evaluations and all that. I don't know on that end how that works or if it's happening, because that had nothing to do with us. But I do know that they get, and some of the contracts, you know, you could fail a few times before that's even reported. Like, retesting for some is just once. Some of them, it was 3 times of retesting.
Right.
It's just dependent on their contracts.
I think not only is it dependent upon their contracts, but who they know, and how much money they are bringing that state. I
definitely think the
yeah.
larger the company you are, when you have even more money to kind of just throw it at whatever, I definitely think that that's probably more the case.
Yeah.
Our smaller companies were more apt to be on it. They also were more likely to pass all of theirs because they didn't have money to throw around. They were more careful.
100%. You're that's spot on. And so, like, this is what I say when I say there's always so much to talk about, because, and that's, again, the strategy, folks. If they're attacking the environment over here, if they're attacking immigrants over here, if they're attacking democratic cities over here, if they're attacking, journalists over here, and nonpartisan media over here, if they're taking over, damn near nationalizing corporations over here, like if they're starting another war over here, like, it's like, how do you possibly address everything in depth? Like, it's just impossible. And so you do the best you can.
Yep.
You pick things to talk about. You hopefully get that information out, and then, you're able to kind of move on to something else. But, you have to keep circling back, because I'll tell you what I learned, and sure, you're probably going to say it's because of the way my brain works. But one of the things that I used to struggle with, and I have to make myself do it now, is once I talked about something, I'd be like, okay, I covered it, and I would move on to something new, right? And the issue with that is the same people aren't watching every single day. And there would be so many people that didn't get the information. And I would be like, okay, but I've already covered it. And so, like, it is actually work for me. What's up, Mr. Barrios? It is actually work for me to make myself redo stuff that I've already done in order to get it out. But,
it also helps you reinforce the information you already know even more.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you do that and you look at it again, you learn new things. But what's great is, like, we talk about, there's so many things. When we share this information, certain aspects of what we're sharing click something for someone else. And that person might run with that information and learn more and do advocacy just focused on that one area.
Yes.
So while you're giving this broad information about all the different things happening, it doesn't take all of us focusing on all these things.
Nope.
Each of us can work in our areas of interest or knowledge to be able to do this advocacy, so we're not spread so thin.
And that's exactly what needs to happen, because I cannot do all the things, nor do I want to, right? Nor do I want to. There are things that are particularly in my wheelhouse, and the things that move me. So when you say, well, how do I pick? It's the thing that tugs at you. It's the thing that stirs your passion. Whatever you have the greatest emotional response to, that is the thing that I say dig into and go, right? Gumps, what book did I recommend that has been taking you on a learning journey? Y'all know I recommend a lot of books. Good morning, Teresa. So but that's the point, guys, is that everybody, fierce conversations. Yeah, that's a good one. So yours would be water. Perfect. And so, so that's kind of the thing. So if you've never ever seen the tools, Wicked Lola, that I'm talking about today, where you can get into, you can literally see, like when I was digging into Eastman's a while back, I could actually see which water locations they were talking about. It would tell you if it was just a sheen on the water, if there were actually unalived fish in the water, because that means something different. It would tell you whether or not that water was able to be rehabilitated or not. No, Rogue Wonder, I haven't. But it would be, it does all of those. And so like, it's really powerful when you go, holy shit, like so much damage has been done to this particular thing. We can never get it back. And that matters, you know. I think about how bad does it have to be that you can't rehabilitate it. And so, yeah, so public lands, environmental protection, and healthcare are yours. Perfect, because we are in environmental protections right now, and we're about to talk about public lands too. We're going to talk about both of those things. So, yeah. All right. Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate you as always. Ain't that a new picture?
Yeah, I need to get an updated one because that's not how my hair looks now.
I don't care. I said, look at you looking sassy and cute. I see you. Okay. All right. All right. Appreciate you. Okay. So let me do this really quickly. Okay. So when we talk about EPA stuff, so how many of you all are aware that the as of last week, no, Superstar, I think everybody knows that the baby has been born. I think everybody knows the baby's like 1 pound and 13 ounces. And now they're getting ready to you know, they'll bury Adriana, and then the baby's in the NICU. I haven't covered it because there's really not much to cover, right? Until you know what's going to happen, and nobody's going to know for a while. Like I said, Bella was 1 pound 3 ounces in the NICU. I think the thing that is different is Bella was 1 pound and 3 ounces in the NICU at 26 weeks. That baby being 1 pound 13 ounces and being 32 weeks, or something like that is concerning. I'm not sure how many weeks they got to, but yeah, that's concerning because, like I said before, y'all, gestation is not does not automatically equate to viability, right? And so, just saying, I don't know, Red Hot, I don't know. So anyway, all right, so here we go. I don't know how many of you all know that a week ago that the EPA proposes to repeal a Biden-Harris regulation for power plants, which, if finalized, this is what they say, listen to how they position it, would quote unquote save Americans more than $1 billion a year. That's the EPA's spin on it. You guys ready? Did y'all hear that? That's how the EPA, that's on the EPA's website. EPA proposes repeal of Biden-Harris EPA regulations for power plants, which, if finalized, would save Americans more than $1 billion. Here's my thing. At what cost? At what cost? So, yeah, y'all are like, holy fuck. Yep, that was a week ago. Yeah, at a huge cost, you guys. So, they already announced at the beginning of May that they were going to reorganize the EPA, right? And so what they said is that they were going to cut EPA staffing to Reagan era levels. So Lee Zeldin, who is the EPA administrator, expects to cut staff levels similar to the 1980s when Reagan occupied the White House in order to, quote, operate as efficiently and effectively as possible. The agency currently has a workforce of around 15,000 people. Staff during the Reagan administration fluctuated between 11,000 to 14,000 employees. They plan major changes in the Office of Research and Development. And that is the wing of the EPA that provides scientific analysis on the risks of air pollution, chemicals, and other environmental hazards. It plans to move some science staff from research and development into policymaking offices, which write regulations, and then they want to send others to newly created offices. They told them to expect those cuts in the coming weeks. So they've been happening for the last several weeks, right? Holy geez. The ORD, the Office of Research and Development, has historically provided independent scientific assessments about the risks of environmental contaminants from lead in drinking water to air pollution. And those scientists have provided foundational research to some of the country's most challenging environmental problems. Yeah, Teresa's over here shouting about nuclear fuel in Irwin. Right, exactly. So how many of you guys are familiar with PFAS? How many of you guys are familiar with PFAS? PFAS. Yes? Nope. Okay. Yes. Okay. No. Oh, PFAS is a big deal. Holy shit. Okay. We've got to do more environmental stuff. I apologize that I have not done more environmental stuff. So PFAS is a chemical. And I'm not going to try to say it. I might polyfluoroalkyl substances. These are man-made chemicals that have been used in a variety of products since the 1940s because they are water and stain resistant, right? Like Forever Plastics. But they don't break down into the environment. And so they can accumulate in living organisms and unalive them. So how many of you all remember last year when they were talking about PFAS damaging a bunch of farms? Do you all remember this? Hold on. Let me see if I can tell you. So listen to this. So this one is from February earlier this year, but this is a Texas farm. I'll put I've got a lot that I need to put in the thing, but so listen. So there was a high concentrations of at least 8 different PFAS chemicals were on Schultz Coleman and farmer properties. And over that time, the Colemans started to lose cattle. They have lost 47 calves and cows in the last 2 years. Calves are born unalive regularly and some unalive shortly after being born. So like you can, if you just Google PFAS, unalivings, PFAS farms, all of those things, there's articles about it contaminating food supply, destroying things. It's taken over some people's farms, and they've lost their farm that's been in their families for generations. Like this is a thing that is real and is a concern, and that, dear God, somebody should be talking about besides people in the agricultural. PFAS. Slice, you got it. It's PFAS. So like the Southern Environmental Law Center, they did an article about it earlier this year. So like I know about this because they talked about it a lot at the Michigan Rural Caucus last year. They are everywhere, right, Lenny? They are everywhere. So like contaminated sludge is sometimes used as fertilizer, and it endangers farming families and communities. And so like they filed comments with the EPA earlier this year. And so I'll give you some of the quote from this. Okay. I'm just full of great information today, aren't I? Sorry, you guys. Okay. I'll share this with you just so you guys can, this is the statement. So the Southern Environmental Law Center, said in comments that they filed today with the EPA, and this was in April of this year. It said, quote, "It is unacceptable that families who live off the land," quote, "It is unacceptable that families who live off the land where this sludge has been spread as fertilizer now have to worry about the safety of their water, milk, meat, eggs, fruit, and vegetables because industries have defiled it with the toxic chemicals. And wastewater treatment plants allow that contamination to happen." This is from Zhuang, who's the senior attorney at the SCLC. Quote, "The industries that use and profit off forever chemicals should be treating their own pollution so that these chemicals do not end up in our food and drinking water in the first place. And wastewater treatment plants can make this happen. If wastewater treatment plants acted, industries would be the ones paying the fines for their own pollution, and not the families and the communities that rely on the farms and the pastures for their food, water, and livelihood. This is a really, really, really big thing. And it's everywhere. When I say from Maine to Nebraska to Texas to Michigan, PFAS is a horrible thing all the way around. Thank you, Witch. So if wastewater treatment plants use their existing legal authority to limit the pollution from industrial customers, then all of this could be prevented. Sorry, Beach Bum. Right, Jennifer, it's their mess. They ought to clean it up. So if you are not familiar with PFAS, this is definitely it's not a rabbit hole. It is it's a thing. Yeah. So listen, if wastewater treatment plants used the legal authority that they have to limit pollution from the industrial customers so that PFAS chemicals don't end up in the sewage sludge, this could all be prevented. Our farms, our cows, our milk, our meat, our dairy, our fruits, our vegetables, our soil, our ground, our water don't have to be contaminated with this stuff. This is literally choosing corporations and their profit over the lives of people. That is literally what this is. It does not have to be this way. And I think that's the thing that frustrates me the most, is it doesn't have to be this way. And so let's just say you go from making, I just want to see something real quick. So Eastman Chemical Company, their annual revenue for 2022 was almost $11 billion. Almost $11 billion. So let's just say that you cut $100 million, you pay $100 million to keep this from happening. You're still at damn near $11 billion. Like, what is a $2 million fine when you make $11 billion? Not shit. What is a $7,500 fine when you make $11 billion? Not shit. Literally, y'all, it's not shit. It's like the change that you throw in the dish at the gas station where the pennies and stuff are. That's what that is. But it doesn't have to be this way. Why am I bringing this up today? Because someone from within the EPA talked to both NPR and someone else talked to the New York Times about the plans for these EPA cuts. And they withheld the person's name, and NPR was very clear about it. They said, we are withholding this person's name because they fear retaliation if it finds out that they have spoken about it. Okay. And I think that we all would agree that that is a fair concern to have, right? Especially with this administration. So in a meeting in Friday, remember this is last month, EPA leaders encouraged the research and development staff of 1,500 to apply for the roughly 500 new positions created in the reorganization. And so an EPA staff scientist who was at this meeting said, quote, "I feel like they're playing musical chairs, but taking out half the chairs and everyone else is going to get cut." right? And so the fear is that obviously there's going to be no one there to do the job. Okay. So, listen at this. So, officials from within the EPA have been telling staff in the Midwest, which has a legacy of industrial pollutions, and this is to quote, stop enforcing violations against fossil fuel companies, end quote. Listen, did y'all hear me? So officials from within the EPA are telling their staff in the Midwest to quote, stop enforcing violations against fossil fuel companies, end quote. And at the same time, due to the cuts that they've made to staffing, they said there's quote unquote, no one to do the work. If you remember when Trump was running for election, he said that these regulations were burdensome and that he would slash them, right? You have to remember that the guy that he put in charge of the EPA is a big oil and gas guy. You all know that, right? And so one EPA enforcement officer told the New York Times, quote, the companies are scoffing at the cops. EPA enforcement doesn't have the leverage they once had. And that brings me to the next subject. I told you guys, I had a whole list of things that I knew that I wanted to share with you all today. Okay. So now we're going to go to some really crazy things, as if what we're doing hasn't been crazy enough. Sorry, I'm just sharing my screen while I'm changing things. Veronica Cox said, that's it. Right. It's a lot. I know. Sorry, guys. But let me get you to this next piece that's important. You ready? So in the big, beautiful bill, we have talked about the Medicaid cuts. We have talked about the SNAP cuts. We've talked about the cuts to potential cuts to jobs because of the credits being taken away from clean. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Vehicles, right? All of that is in that big, beautiful bill. You know that in the big, beautiful bill, they don't want states to be able to enforce their laws or to pass laws against AI companies for a decade, right? Which here we go. And then we also know that in that big, ugly bill, that big, barbaric bill, I like that one, Sharon. I do like that one, big, barbaric bill. We know that they also want to limit the authority of federal judges. So this budget reconciliation bill is not focused on budget. It literally violates the Byrd Rule. So remember, we talked about the Byrd Rule, and the Byrd Rule says that if you are going to use this specific mechanism called budget reconciliation, you cannot include things in the bill that are not directly related to the budget, right? It's not that simple, Juan. It's not that simple to say if you're disabled and living in a blue state, will you be affected? It's not that simple to be able to say that, right? Non-budgetary items. And it goes so far as to say, not only if it's not, but you can't even do it if it impacts the budget as a side effect. Like if an extraneous benefit comes for the budget, you still can't include it, because if it is not a direct budget item, it cannot be used according to the Byrd Rule. Remember that I have an email template specifically about this issue in the Google Drive for you all to use. Okay. So, and the difference is, the budget reconciliation measure that they want to use means that they do not need the 60 votes. It allows them to simply only need a simple majority. So if they can't use that mechanism, then it changes the way the bill and the requirements voting from senators on the bill, right? Just like the AI in the bill and all the things, right? Now, something else that's in the bill that I want to give you is that, so Wes Seiler has a newsletter. He's an outdoor journalist. Listen, the budget reconciliation bill requires the sale of up to 3.3 million acres of publicly owned land. And an amendment also authorizes the sale of 258 million acres over the next 5 years. So I want to talk about, I want you all to hear what I said. The bill itself requires 3.3 million acres to be sold, up to 3.3 acres to be sold, and it's publicly owned land. But they also have an amendment that authorizes the sale of 258 million acres of publicly owned land over the next 5 years. The amendment comes from the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. It was written by Senators Mike Lee from Utah. Now, why do we know the name Mike Lee right now? Because Mike Lee is the guy that mocked the unalivings of and the pew-pewings of our 2 Minnesota state representatives and senators, right? His tweets about them. Yes. So he is the guy that wrote this, along with Steve Daines, who is a Republican from Montana. It includes Bureau of Land Management and U.S. Forest Service lands in 11 states. I'm going to tell you the 11 states. The 11 states are Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Idaho, Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. While the measure doesn't currently include national monument lands, the DOJ under Trump can revoke national monument protections. And if they did so, that would make another 13.5 million acres available for purchase. And I need to, this next part, just take a deep breath, because the process for selling those lands calls for an enormous rush on those sales and, quote, all without hearings, debate, or public input opportunities, end quote. The wording puts an enormous rush on sales without, quote, without hearings, without debate, and without public input opportunities. So the highest bidder. And on that note, for the highest bidder, Mukesh Ambani, who is the richest man in India, is now one of many wealthy foreign real estate developers, quote unquote, pouring money into the Trump administration. How many of you all remember or saw Melanie Stansberry asking about the international water boundaries verbiage being in the bill? Did you all see her questioning them about this being in the bill? Did you all see her talk about that? She did. So I want to also remind you of the GAO report. So give me a second. Oh, Jesus. All right. So do you remember when we looked at the Government Accountability Office report that Trump was trying to use for Schedule F? Do y'all remember that? And we were looking at the organizations that had responded and hadn't responded, and I made some interesting questions around some of the people that had responded and people that hadn't responded. So do you all remember? I'm going to scroll down a little bit when we were talking about the different agencies. In the agencies, USIBWC, which is the U.S. International Boundary and Water Commission, they were people that were part of that report. So was the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. So was the EPA. So was the Federal Labor Relations Authority. So was OMB. Do you all remember this? This is why they wanted to remove government employees from those offices and put them under Schedule F in order to get rid of them. That is why these specific organizations were asked to identify positions to move people from their schedules into Schedule F so they could be fired. Okay. And lady said, say that again. Okay. So if you remember, under Schedule F, so Schedule F was an executive order 957, I believe. Hold on. Executive Order 13957. Whew, my brain. Executive Order 13957. It was done October 21st of 2020. And that was because Donald Trump thought he was going to win the election in 2020. And so what they wanted to do is they were taking officials, they were taking federal service workers that were in roles for confidential policy making, confidential policy determining, or confidential policy advocating positions. And they wanted to change those people and move them into Schedule F. And so what all of these different departments were asked to do was to identify which roles were going to be moved from their current schedule, which could be Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C, and be moved into Schedule F. The reason why that is important is because federal service workers have union protection. And so what they wanted to do was move them into Schedule F, which would not have union protection, and that would allow them to be fired. And it would allow them to more easily hire their replacements and put in people who agreed with what policies they want to roll out. Because the role of federal service workers is to maintain the proper functioning of the government, regardless of who's in charge. So listen, when a new president comes in, it is the staff that tells them what to do. They've never led the country. So they tell them, okay, so for this particular ceremony, you stand here, this is what you do first. You won't do this, you wait for this, you whatever. Those federal employees are the people that, as Democratic and Republican leaders come and go, they ensure that the nuts and bolts of the government keep rolling. Okay? And so what they want to do is get rid of those people and put in people in those positions that are loyal to the Trump administration and the agenda of the Heritage Foundation. That is the plan. And that's why, as soon as Joe Biden took office, he rescinded this executive order. Okay. So when you see this bill that's being put out, it is tackling all of the initiatives that were outlined in Project 2025 and all of the agencies that were identified in that executive order. And so it lays out for you which organizations had or had not identified roles to be eliminated or to be moved, right? So, for example, so let me just tell you this. 2 agencies, the Office of Management and Budget, which remember was run by Russell Vought, who is one of the primary authors of Project 2025, and the U.S. International Boundary and Water Commission, they had both already submitted petitions to the Office of Personnel Management to place positions into Schedule F. So OMB, which was run by Russell Vought and is run by Russell Vought today, they had already submitted petitions to move certain roles into Schedule F to eliminate those federal workers. And so had the U.S. International Boundary and Water Commission. How you sitting with that? U.S. International Boundary and Water Commission had submitted its Schedule F petition, which was developed in response to this executive order, and they did it on January 19th of 2021. And then Biden revoked the order on the 22nd. So they could not review the petition. According to officials within that agency, the then commissioner of ISIBWC tasked the agency's human resources director and their chief of legal counsel to identify positions that met the criteria for placement into Schedule F. These officials compared written position descriptions against the Schedule F criteria and informed their decision-making with their own understanding of the actual duties performed by employees in these positions. USIBWC did not draft rules against prohibited personnel, but officials told us that they would have if OPM approved their petition. I don't know that we know those numbers right now. So USIBWC identified 5 positions. Now, it's important for you to remember that 5 positions doesn't mean 5 people. You might have 10 people hired under the same position, right? So listen, they had identified 5 positions for placement into Schedule F, which were held by 5 employees. 5 positions, 5 employees. This represented 2% of their total workforce at the time. But listen to this. Those positions were the equivalent to the GS 15 level. Sweet baby Jesus. GS 15 means you are the head, the expert, the subject matter experts in this department. It is significant. It is significant. Oh, geez. And listen at this. They said that because they did not consider positions that were covered by a collective bargaining agreement, they didn't need to file a petition with the FLRA, which is the Labor Relations Authority. So, yeah. Nat said, OMG, so much information. I'm getting out the tequila. You know, I don't mean to like information dump on you guys. It's really important information that people need to know. It is really information. It's important information that people need to know. These aren't people. So senior biz mentor, these would not be people that would be appointed by Trump. These are people that would go through the normal hiring process. This will not, what you're saying won't tell Linda the answer that she's looking for. So the answer that Linda was, the question that Linda was asking is, how do we know? Do we know how many fire positions have been filled with Trump loyalists? And someone had recommended looking at the people that Trump appointed. However, these are not positions that Trump would appoint. These are specifically hiring positions. These are not appointed positions. These are hiring positions. If they were appointment positions, they would not be under Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C. They would not need to be moved to Schedule F. Good afternoon, Miss Nina. What you got for me? Hello.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. You didn't mean to?
No, I didn't, but I didn't think you were gonna put me up so soon and I have my mouth full.
No worries. No worries.
Listen, I've been listening to you all morning and learning, and thank you for letting us know about this because I need to get more involved in that. But I also wanted to bring to your attention, I'm waiting for a text message because it's a young girl from Honduras that has been detained by these people. I don't know who. I supposedly know.
Mm-hmm.
And since February, and she's been here since she was 8 years old. Just graduated from high school, I believe, 20, like my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Takes me back when I was right out of high school with no undocumented, 40-something years ago, you know?
Yeah.
And I can't help but, I can't look the other way, Danny. So
right.
We're trying, I know there's a young lady here, Mexican young lady, the young girl happens to be from Honduras, where I'm from. She's been here since she was 8 years old, and she's been detained since February. Finally, she had a hearing on the 10th, and as soon as after her hearing, they changed her ICE agent. And she was supposed to be released. So now, since yesterday, all I know is that they didn't know when she was going to be released. They didn't know the new ICE agent. So it's just delay tactics. And this girl has been sick. She calls her mom crying. And the thing is that they let her mom go and her little brother, and they kept her, a young lady. And, it's just, I can't help but think.
What you want, baby girl?
So
Want some noodles? Okay.
I wanted to also let you know that since you were talking about, we could help each other with whatever skills we have.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that I'm doing here locally. I got with the diocese from my tri-county.
Okay.
And since people go to church to look for help, I'm offering my paralegal service to fill out green card asylums, citizenship, whatever it is people need. I wanted to let you know about that too, in case I could be.
Do you know if she's in Louisiana? I was trying to find the person you were talking about. Do you know where she's at?
I think she's in Texas. Her name is Allison. I could send you.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy because all I did was Google "girl from Honduras held by ICE since February 2025," and there's so many people that have been held. You can't even.
There's so many cases. Exactly.
Yes.
But I'm gonna send you her. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to go into your link tree. I did glance it and I saw there was a lot of information. I was trying to go to your class yesterday, but you were still here.
Yep.
I don't know if it took place or not.
Nope. We've moved it to next Tuesday, same time.
Okay, awesome. Because I do want to take that class because I don't want it. My son doesn't want me to give up on these people.
No, we can't. I found her. Her name is.
I've been ready because I've been so mad and emotionally about it. But my son is like, Mom, you can't be mad at the voters. You just can't. You got to bring them to our side,
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing.
I'm going to have to learn from you, sister.
Yeah. So this is the thing we got to bring them over. So, this is her name is Allison Bustillo.
Yes.
She's 20 years old and she's been there she's in Georgia, actually. And she has been there since February. And there's a petition on Linktree that has 1,300 signatures right now. So I can put that in the I can put that in the Linktree as well, just for people that who may not know
Thank you
about
so
it.
much.
Yes.
I would appreciate it. I did follow up with the lady that's helping them. It's a Mexican lady, and to see what the status is from
Bless
yesterday,
you.
because we were making phone calls to see what's going to happen. Who's the ICE agent? So she's helping the mom.
Yeah.
And,
So
you know, I don't like to get in the middle of that either, so I'm going through her.
right.
But I was glancing through your link tree, and I see that you have a lot of information about immigration and stuff like that. So I have to go in there and see if there's anything that can help me, because I know you're busy too, you know.
Yeah. So listen, and so I don't know. Were you in here when Rolo was on here with us?
I know Rolo. I wasn't here, but I've been with Rolo. Rolo is a wonderful man.
Yeah, I know he's just slammed as well, but yeah.
Oh my God! I was lucky enough to meet his father before he left us, because he did a live with him, and he taught us so much about Guatemala. I'm from Honduras, so we're neighbors.
Yeah.
And I learned so much, and I feel so privileged to have met his father. And I feel I'm like Rolo, you know. This is personal to me.
Yeah, 100%.
I came here in 1980 when I was 12. I crossed the border. I'm a paralegal now. I have 2 American citizen kids. You know, this is my life. This is my home. I don't have nothing in Honduras.
Right. Yes.
You know.
Yeah, I get it. And so like, and here's the thing, I tell people all the time. So like my grandchildren are multiracial. When I want to joke, I say they're intercontinental, because so I'm biracial, right? My mom's white, my dad was black, and then my ex-husband also black. And so my daughters are like 75% black, 25% white, right? But then when you get to my son-in-law, he's Hispanic. And so they so his family, they have Honduras and El Salvador. And so like, and within that entire family, there's different statuses throughout the entire family. And so it is personal. And
my own family, my mom's father is Salvadorian, because we're borders, you know. So people,
yes. Yep.
during war times, people flew to one country and the other, and they fell in love. Like,
yep. 100%. And so this is what I tell people, you know, like when you look at my grandchildren, you don't know what they are, right? People look at me and they don't know. All they know is I'm not white. That's all they know. Yep, that's all they know. And when it's funny, because I joke, but when I go to Florida, when I go to California, when I go to Texas, before they hear me speak, people will start speaking Spanish to me. Yeah, 100%. Because yeah, they
You look like me with short hair. I have pictures of short hair when you're younger, and
yeah. So you know, but yeah, I think that this is what people need to understand, is that it should be personal for all of us, because it is about people. And
human beings.
yeah, and what doesn't affect you today can affect you tomorrow. And so we can't be selective about that. We have to be. And so I said this at the beginning of the live, is if you don't care about somebody else's experience, like when I played Jimenez's testimony, right? That girl was brought here by her parents when she was 8. She had nothing to do with her status at 4. Sorry, at 4. She had nothing to do with her status when her parents brought her here at 4. That child has been an honor student. She has been active in sports. She has been doing all of these different things, right? And if you are so mad, I don't care, she should be deported. If that is your attitude, I'm going to need you to ask yourself why. What is it that makes you not have compassion for that particular person who has done nothing wrong, who is not a criminal, who was a child that didn't have any involvement in how she got here, who has been a contributor to her community? If you don't have compassion for her, you might want to do a little digging, right?
You know what the saddest part is, Danny? That is the same energy that I had when I was a young girl that is going on around right now.
Mm-hmm.
The same anti-immigrant, the same slurs, the same thing, and it makes me sad that we have not evolved as a society with empathy. Even
Yes.
though we have met these people, we went to school. I went to school with a lot of people that voted for this man. I met him in my 20s. You know, they were anti-immigrant then, and they're still anti-immigrant. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's sad, you know, because it's like I didn't choose to come here. I crossed the border to come here with my parents.
Right.
And I was only 12, and you know, it wasn't my choice. And yeah, my parents got a lot of hate for that. I was told my parents didn't care about me because they did that. And unless I tell you my story, you don't know why they did that.
Right. Right.
Because my father had a multiple business, and since he was 22, because he was a truck driver. May he rest in peace. That I lost him to C-19. At 22, he was driving cross country from here to Honduras, flying over here and going over there. Which I tell people, immigration is not the problem. They're always gonna get outside help. They've been doing it forever.
Yes.
My father was 22 in 1972 when he got a visa, and they paid for that because it was cheaper for him to do it.
100%. Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So it's like, you know, they're so brainwashed, and they don't want to hear anything else. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And the fact that you went to school with these people and they're still demonizing immigrants is sad. It's really sad.
But you know what? This is my thing, is that what people don't understand is that they'll say, oh, I'm not racist because so-and-so is my friend, or I'm not racist because you're my family. And, you know, I mean, I love you, you're my family. What people don't understand is that proximity to brownness and blackness does not absolve you from racism or bigotry or any of those things, right? What proximity does is proximity allows you to overcome that prejudice for someone once you get to know them. But it doesn't eliminate that prejudice for the other people that belong to that group, that demographic that you don't yet know. And so that's the thing. And so what people need to really understand, this is what I truly believe. I believe that the reason that people are lacking empathy is because you lose empathy when you numb yourself because you no longer want to feel pain. So this is what people need to understand. When you numb your ability to feel, right? You don't just numb bad feelings. You numb good feelings too. You don't get to selectively numb what you feel and say, oh, I'm only going to feel good things. That's not the way it works. So when you numb your feelings and you only want to feel good things, you're numbing your ability to feel the good as well as feeling the bad. And we are a country that has experienced so much. I think we are seeing the impacts of a lot of unresolved trauma, a lack of mental health support, a lack of emotional intelligence, and a society that has some constructions about how people should be that doesn't benefit any of us, right? And so I just think that people need to realize that John Boy, who's the asshole, is probably the asshole for a couple of different reasons. And so is Susie May. Now, John Boy could just be a run-of-the-mouth asshole, but the truth of the matter is that if we want to get somewhere, somebody has to be willing to be vulnerable. Somebody has to be willing to be that. And, you know, it's often,
That's what I'm trying to spread around, because it's really hurtful when I go into some spaces. And I'm not going to say that all the Black community, because I got my brothers and sisters that got my back, and they invite me to their lives, and I can fall asleep in their life every night if I want to. And you know, and I feel protected. But there's a lot of lives that I enter, and all I hear is xenophobia, and you know, and it's so sad, and from other people of color, and it's just sad.
Yep.
It's heartbreaking. It's hurtful, to be honest with you. It really hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
To the point that I don't even want to participate. I even told the other Latinos, "What are you doing in this room? There's other Black people out there that are willing to."
Listen, I left a live, Miss Nina. I left a live full of brown people, full of Black people, a week or so ago, who were not a safe space, right? And so we have a saying: "All skin folk ain't kin folk."
Yeah.
But I have my own theories about that too. So when it comes to specifically when we think about Black Americans, right? I think what we learned in the civil rights movement was we learned Black pride, right? So if you go back and look at a lot of the images of Black people back then, they were dressed to the nines, and they were, you know, they began to be proud. And so I think what we learned as a community was Black pride. That is not the same thing as love of being Black and Black love. It's not the same thing, right? It's not loving your Black self. It's not loving your brown self. And so the reason why I say that I don't think we learned that as a whole, because if we did, we would not have the level of crime against each other that we do, right? Because whenever you have love of self, right, and you see someone that is of self, then you are slower to commit harm. No, Janice. Yeah, 100%. And so, but I think I said this the other day, because a lot of what you see today and a lot of the people that are spewing hate today profess to be Christians, right? So many of them do. And I'm from the South, and I was raised in the Baptist church. And so one of the things that I say is, you know, the Bible talks about do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But it says that there's two great commandments. It says the first is to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy soul, right? And then it says to love thy neighbor as thyself, right? So
you have to love yourself first.
That's the key. I believe that the hate that is coming from people who profess to be Christians, it's because they don't love their neighbor, because they are loving their neighbor exactly how they love themselves. If you don't love yourself, you cannot give what you do not have.
Well, see, and that's the thing. I think that we might be ahead, because as brown people and mothers, we had to deal with our traumas to be better mothers. You know? Yep. Because I had to be completely raw and honest with my children, so that I could understand why their mama was the way she was.
100%.
You know. So I think that's probably the disconnect there. And not that we're smarter or anything, you know.
Yeah.
It's just experience. I've experienced something when you're with that you have to do. And I've been blessed, Danny. I had my father for over 50 years, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a blessing. He taught me a lot. And I definitely believe in self-love, because it's been a journey. Because as an immigrant child with my parents leaving me behind, you can't imagine all the trauma that I went through, the separation trauma, all that. I had to deal with that, you know. Yep. And then I came here and I was illegal, and my parents were undocumented because I didn't get papers until the amnesty. So it's not easy. People don't understand that people are afraid to even go to a doctor when you don't have documents.
Right. And that's what tickles me when they say they commit crimes. I'm like, are you stupid? Are you
scared to go to the doctor?
Right.
About therapy. I didn't take therapy.
Right. It's like, no, because they know committing a crime means deportation. Like, no, they don't want to go anywhere for anything, for any reason. But it's like, you know, and it's funny, because what I believe is that we all have different experiences and different trauma. And trauma is something that cannot be compared, because how a particular trauma would impact you is not how that same trauma may impact me, right? And people get into this trauma comparison. I hear some Black people wanting to compare trauma between them and Native Americans, or them and Jews, and all the things, right? My thing is, no, that is not the solution. It's to understand.
Danny, I was on a Mexican live that I had to leave a few days afterwards, because there was I'm also a DV survivor. Mm-hmm. So I was by another Latino man. I was put on the spot to tell my entire story completely on TikTok, because he compared my trauma, that I was more aggressive than the other girl that has been through the same thing that me. And I'm like, how do you know she's been through the same thing? Look, I don't care if I'm going to tell it here on TikTok, if they're recording me, if this is going to help anybody out there. I'm happy, because I'm happy where I'm at, because whatever abuse I went through, it's not my fault. It's the abusers.
Right.
You're not gonna embarrass me by putting me on that spot. Thank you, I said, because you're giving me light to put this. But at the same token, I was pissed because how dare you?
Right. That's the thing. It's not. It's
women to compare traumas. How
Yeah.
dare you?
Yeah. And that's my thing. Like, we have to get to this place where it's not about trauma comparison or I had it harder or you had it harder, or why was this so bad for you? So and so, it happened to so and so, and they didn't have to go through ABC. Well, we're all different people, and things impact us differently. I'm not an immigrant, right? I am a biracial child that was my father passed when I was 6 months old. I was raised in a community that is 96% white by my white mom, with me and my two brothers. In a place that is really Republican, very Christian. Like, we all have our things. I know. And when you talk about how hurtful it is, and this is the thing, I've often said this, it was nothing new, and I expected to experience racism from white people, right?
Exactly.
It was the shit I got from black and brown people that was the most hurtful, because you're not supposed to hurt me, right? I'm part of you. Oh, but because I'm too light for you, or because I talk differently, because my mother makes me articulate my words and she wants me to be able to speak a certain way. So now all of a sudden I talk white, or because I'm like, you automatically think that I think that I'm better than you. Like, there's just so many things. And if we get right, Anissa, not black enough. I said, listen, I was never white enough for white folk, never black enough for black folk. And it took a long time.
I'm the same way, because in our culture, the colorism exists in the family.
Yep.
So I was the negra of the family because I had blonde. So I come here at the young age of 13 thinking I'm black. And then I had black women check me no. And I had Cubans call me India. And I'm like, Bob, what the heck is going on?
Right.
We're native also. And then everything I learned in elementary school in Honduras about history, I realized that a lot of people don't know here.
No.
Because they don't think that our ancestors went through slavery. They don't think that we had a G-site over there too. They don't think that we went to colonization. And they just accuse us of being, like, I hear a lot of anti-blackness from Dominican people that they don't want to be black. But then if you talk to the Dominicans, they say, if I say I'm black, they tell me that I'm not black, that I'm Dominican. So I'm like,
right.
I hear both sides. And I relate to that because I've been told, girl, you're not black.
Right.
So I'm waiting patiently for my DNA test that my son gave me for Mother's Day.
Which company did you do it through?
Ancestry.
Okay. I was going to say, so
I'm going to do another one because I know that you can't just do one either.
Stay away from 23andMe.
Yes.
And I don't know if you all know, but there's actually testimony happening right now in front of the Senate Judiciary regarding 23andMe. Remember, a lot of that data happened and it was taken. And so there's testimony happening right now with 23andMe. So I just want to tell you all, make sure that yes, and colorism came straight from the plantation. Listen, the whole idea is that if we can divide us, if they can divide us, then they can win, right? I'm not, so this is just my thing. So there are things that I would like to do under this administration. I don't want to do anything with anybody having my stuff. Yeah.
I talked to Rolo about immigration and about it because there's several groups of people that are trying to do present a reform, and I brought it to his attention. And he said, Nina, in this administration, they're not going to pass anything. I go, thank you for confirming, because those are exactly my thoughts. I would not ask this administration for anything. They have no empathy or compassion for nobody.
Right, 100%. So for those of you all who do not know, in 2023, 23andMe had a hacker who the hacker was named Gollum. They breached their systems and they accessed the data of nearly 7 million customers. It was their personal details, their ancestry results, their geographic locations. It was a class action lawsuit that was settled for like $30 million. And, they're testifying before the Senate Judiciary now, claiming that everything is fixed and all of that. But if you don't know, that's the deal. And so that's why I said, and now them jokers have filed for bankruptcy. Now there's a concern about DNA sales and all of this stuff. So literally it says, with America's DNA put on sale, the market panic gets a new twist because they filed bankruptcy.
And that's the thing now, because I don't know if you've seen in this TikTok street, there's a thing called Pretendians that are trying to claim that Native were never here, that we're from Asia, and and they're stealing DNA data from people so they can say that.
Yeah. So the concern is that because 23andMe has filed bankruptcy, there's concern over what company may purchase them, because that whatever company that would own the DNA information for about 15 million people. And so now there's just a lot of angst about that. And so that's why it's before the Senate Judiciary Committee. So yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons I never wanted to take it, but there's a lot of things my dad wanted to know, and I was able to track his tribe. And I just want to know more. And my son has been wanting me to know because his father is Peruvian. So, he's interested in his ancestry. He's been bothering me since he was 15. So I finally gave in. And I said, let me see. Anyways.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's hope it's not Palantir. Correct. Texas Tea. Correct. So, yeah, it's a lot. And so this is my thing. So when people say, how do we get there? Because I've been talking a lot about how do we get to the core of things, so that we don't keep bouncing back and forth between this far Republican, far Democratic pendulum that just keeps swinging back and forth, right? My thing is, it's through conversations similar to this. It is through all of those types of things where we can get to the nitty gritty and have conversations where people are not going to take it personal, where people have a safe space to be able to share, to be able to talk it through, to be able to see things. And you don't always have that. Yes, baby. You ready? Did you guys eat it? Okay, put it in the trash and we'll do it. Put it in the trash and I'll get you some. Love it. She's holding up the empty Dorito bag. She said, it's gone. I said, oh, did y'all eat it? Okay, girl. In the trash. She's 4. Yeah, it was in the trash can, baby. Okay. I got it. Yeah, Kristi Noem, guys, when she was rushed to the hospital yesterday, she had an allergic reaction. And that's what it is, right? So yeah.
Her Botox?
Huh?
Her Botox?
Botox?
Yeah, the allergic reaction was it to her Botox?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is they said that she had an allergic reaction. It took me a minute. I was like, Botox? Oh, that might have been what it is. I don't know. I was like, wait a minute. Where did we get to Botox? Oh, allergic. I don't know.
I heard it was leaking. That's why I'm asking. That's the internet being me,
Oh, my Lord.
I don't care what the internet says about her because it's mean.
Yeah, I don't. Listen, here's what I don't care. She lost me. Well, she ain't never had me. Let me be clear about that. But like when you can just unalive a 14-month-old puppy and then a goat and then all the stuff. She's a horrible person.
Yes.
You ready?
That's just
okay.
insane.
Yeah, she's not a good person.
Danny, I think I've met a lot of young people that are willing to have that dialogue, and they have the patience and they have the calmness that I lack. Because I get I don't know what happens to me. I think my emotions get the best of me because it's so personal. And yes. I need to learn to, I need to practice what I do, which is breathing and, and taking care of myself. I was telling you when you were eating that I also, since all this happened, I forget to take care of myself. My kids have to tell me, Mom, go for a walk.
Yes.
Do this, because you forget because it's one thing after the other and you got people texting you. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? And you're trying to help. And it's just like overwhelming, man. I 100%. Just want my weekends back. I want my weekends back.
Listen, I don't even know. I ain't had my weekends in, I don't even know how long. Right. But yeah, no, I'm ready for us to, here's what I believe. If there's any upside to, Lynn said, I'm lost, Botox and puppies. Okay. 1 second. Yeah. So Kristi Noem, who used to be the governor of South Dakota, wrote in a memoir. Okay, girl, I got you. She used to, she wrote a memoir book, and in that memoir book, she talked about a 14-month-old puppy that she had that she was using for hunting. It had gotten loose, gotten to a neighbor's house, was messing with the neighbor's chickens, I guess, in the neighbor's yard. When she went to get it, it nipped at her, as a 14-month-old puppy might do. And so she said she hated it anyway, went and got her pew pew and unalived the 14-month-old puppy. She then took that opportunity to also unalive the baby goat that she also didn't like. And after she pew-pewed the goat once, she left it there while it was unaliving to go to her truck, reload, and then come back and finish it off.
She's not well.
No, she's not well. That is Christine Allen. That's who's leading the Department of Homeland Security. In case you're wondering why it doesn't seem that there's any empathy there.
Exactly.
She doesn't have any.
That makes totally sense of the chaos going on. Look at she thought of a puppy. What does you think? You think she thinks about these brown kids and this brown family? She thinks they're less than a puppy.
Yes. Listen, so this is I thought y'all already knew that, but yeah, no, that's her with her crazy self. So, yeah. So listen, for the person who came in here talking about Mexico, boy, bye. That's all I'm going to say to him. Boy, bye. Get out of here. All right. Well, I appreciate you, Miss Nina. Thank you for coming on up here. And you know,
For having me and talking to me, I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Yeah, always.
I enjoy listening to you. I come out of your Life Smarter, and as soon as I get a chance, I'm going to go through your link tree because I saw it. I glanced at it, and there's a lot of good information.
There's a ton in there. I need to go through and try to organize and everything. But what happens, honestly, is by the time I finish my lives, I'm so exhausted that I can't. And then I deal with the kids, and then it's time for me to research and put stuff together for another live. And so I almost never have another opportunity to go back through and clean it up. But it's on my list.
Whatever you're doing, I know it doesn't just happen. And there's a lot of work behind the scenes, and it's obvious. Trust me.
Yeah, I got stuff printed out. We don't ever want to even look at the link forest. That's what everybody calls it.
When I'm working, I know how to prep for trial, so I know there's a lot of preparation when you come over here and talk to us.
100%.
So I thank you for that, and I appreciate you for allowing me and speak my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you. Thank you. Anissa said you get more wrinkles in your forehead. Well, I don't get no Botox. Look, girl, get you some collagen and just some retinol, some collagen. Let that be your friend. Right? Yeah. So let me see. All right. So let me make sure that was the things that I wanted to get in that I mainly got in today. So let me just, yeah, babe, I got you. Do you want some of the orange chicken too to go with some noodles? You want some lo mein noodles and some orange chicken? Huh? Oh, okay. So I want to end on, it does have a lot, Dale. So let me give you all this. I do want to end on, you said you want some, Cheryl. It does, Polar Bear, for headaches. Huh, babe? No, another one, a new one out the fridge. I put it up. Okay. I got you. I just want to give you all just a tiny bit. I'm going to end on a good note, and I am going to end a little bit earlier than 2, just because we have already been on for 4 hours. Let me say this. Thank you, Denise Bird. I appreciate you. So let me say this, folks. Remember that the federal courts are doing what the federal courts need to do. The Trump administration lost in the Supreme Court yesterday, again, when it comes to passports and individuals who are intersex or trans, right? They lost yesterday. What's up, Rebecca Littlebird? I want you to remember that they lost when it comes to U.S. District Judge William Young, when he gave them, when he talked about the NIH grants that the Trump administration paused and the things that they wanted to take away. I want you to remember that these are the things that he said. He said that he was holding the government accountable, quote, for both Trump's actions and the follow-up actions from those Trump has empowered to act. He called the cuts to the National Institutes of Health research grants, quote unquote, illegal and, quote, void. He called cuts for, he ordered the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, to restore the funds immediately. And then this is the great part. I'm finishing right now. I got you. I promise. Okay. And then he went on to say this, quote, I am hesitant to draw this conclusion, but I have an unflinching obligation to draw it. Listen to this, y'all. I just want y'all to hear this. Okay, listen to what he said. Quote, I am hesitant to draw this conclusion, but I have an unflinching obligation to draw it. That this represents racial discrimination and discrimination against America's LGBTQ community. That's what this is. I would be blind not to call it out. My duty is to call it out, end quote. He said, quote, I've never seen a record where racial discrimination was so palpable. I've sat on this bench now for 40 years. I've never seen government racial discrimination like this. You are bearing down on people of color because of their color. The Constitution will not permit that. Have we fallen so low? Have we no shame? End quote. This is United States District Judge William Young. He was appointed by Ronald Reagan, and he is the one who heard the case about the NIH cuts for the research grants. So I wanted to end on a good note. I thought you all would like that little breath, right? Remember what I said. It is crucial and critical that we protect federal legislators because they are going to be the people that hold the line. His name is William Young, Judge William Young. We have to protect our federal judges and the judiciary process because those are the people that are going to hold the line until we get to midterms. This is why you have to contact your state senators and say, we are not passing this big barbaric bill. We are not co-signing this elimination of what we know to be the United States of America. We are not getting rid of our publicly owned lands. We are not tying the hands of the federal judiciary. We are not going to limit states' rights to enforce their own laws regarding AI. We are not going to do that. We are not going to cut Medicaid and SNAP benefits from the poor working people. We are not going to do those things because that is simply not who we are, right? And this is the reminder that you have to give your United States Senate, especially those that are sitting in Republican states. Those are the folks that need your words the most. Don't think about not contacting those people. If your person is Cruz, if your person is as Rick Scott, if your person, yes, Wawa, if that's your people, Lindsey Graham, Rick Scott, whoever, if your people are Republican, don't blow them off. Don't think, oh, I shouldn't email them. It's a waste of time. Absolutely not. Those are the people that need to hear your voice. And let me tell you something. Many of those people are super pissed about what's happening with the United States and our position with Iran. They are very, very not happy with that. And it's incredibly important that we take advantage of that opportunity on the backs of millions of Americans in the street last weekend. Got it? There's a difference between the ideology of MAGA and the ideology of the Federalist Society. They are not one and the same. Many of these judges are what Donald Trump would refer to as rhino Republicans, right? I want you to remember that. They have value and belief in the Constitution. So you have to make sure that you are absolutely contacting those people. Take a bow. I can't go into the Federalist Society today. I've done it before on a live, like I want to say a week or so ago, but I'm about to end this live, but I'll do it again. I'll do it again on another day. Okay. Because I'm getting ready to go. But I just want you all to understand that protecting the federal judiciary is paramount. so that they can hold the line until we get to the midterms. All right. Okay. So like I said, folks, I may or may not be back this evening. I have thank you all for hitting 1,000 shares, Donna Ski. Appreciate you. I have a one-on-one with someone, with a platinum subscriber at 2:30 today. And then, so I need to eat in between now and that. And then this girl has therapy, thank God, at 4:30 this afternoon. So do whatever you need to do to stay grounded, right? I don't care if you need to get your feet into the earth, if you need to listen to some music, if you need to play with some children, if you need to burn some sage, if you need to, whatever it is, do some art, do what you need to take care of yourself. Make sure that you stay hydrated. I got you, Cheryl, and I will see you all. If not tonight, I will see you all tomorrow morning. I appreciate you all very much. Love you, mean it, and we will talk later. Okay? Peace out. Bye.